Live from the virtual Bristol Motor Speedway, we say good evening, race fans, and welcome to Saturday Night Thunder as we get set to see some of NASCAR's up-and-coming stars do battle from the virtual Last Great Coliseum. We're happy that you're spending your Saturday night with us here at RaceBot TV and the iRacing Esports Network. My name is Evan Pasoko, the play-by-play voice of the NASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series, joined this evening by my Coke Series co-commentator in Tim Terry, as well as Justin Prince. Tim, we've seen the NASCAR virtual docket of racing change over the last couple of weekends, but this evening may kick off, I think, the most exciting format yet.
Absolutely, it's short track racing. It's Bristol. We've got a huge field of drivers here getting ready to qualify. It's going to be an awesome show that we have. These drivers just in their final practice laps, getting ready for probably one of the most important qualifying sessions of the weekend. Evan, I can't wait for this. We saw on Tuesday night with that NASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series some great racing at Bristol, and now we get ready for some thunder on a Saturday night.
And it's a big departure from what we saw with a lot of these familiar faces as well, Justin, last Sunday morning when this race was essentially a qualifier for the Pro Invitational. Now we change cars and we mix it all up after that one saw an exciting race where Alex Labay took home the win, the likes of Alfredo Majeski Garcia. At that point, they were fighting to make the main show on Sunday. It was exciting, but tonight's going to be totally different.
Absolutely. You had four drivers with very different racing backgrounds make it through that qualifying race at the time. And mind you, LeBay won that on a last lap pass. The thing is, though, it's Bristol, baby. And when it comes to Bristol, the racing, very different to say the least compared to Texas Motor Speedway. Some great short track racing on deck for tonight. But these drivers are ready for a lot of pressure to try and make sure they can race throughout this evening.
And what they're going to be doing tonight is all for bragging rights, Tim, but let's talk everybody through what you're going to see on track here tonight. The biggest difference is, of course, now this support series, if you will, is no longer in the same cup cars that you'll see next Sunday, tomorrow afternoon, really. We are changing to iRacing's ARCA Menards Series styled cars, so that is one big difference, as these things are sporty on these short tracks. But we're also going heat racing tonight, because there's nearly 50 drivers that want to race here this evening in the Saturday Night Thunder 150. We can't fit them all on the racetrack, so this is the format. We're going to split everybody up after single car qualifying into 4 different heat races. We'll go racing for 20 laps each, no caution flags. The top 4 advance to the feature. We'll do that 4 times. That'll give us our first 16 names, but then as is a staple, Tim, a short track racing, an LCQ is to follow.
Last chance qualifier, consolation, hooligan race, whatever you want to call it. There's 2 of them, 20 laps, top 4 transfer into the feature. So the number tonight, Evan, is 4. Top 4 from each heat, top 4 from each consi will go in, make 24 cars, 150 laps, and if we need them, we have up to 3 green-white checker attempts. You mentioned this race car that we're running tonight, the ARCA Menards Series style race car. If you haven't been on iRacing and driven this car yet, I urge you to come on and do it. It's a fun race car to drive. It's a fun race car to drive here at Bristol as well. Going to see these drivers up near the wall, trying to get as close as they can without scraping that wall. And it's going to provide some great racing action here. And it's got the new damage model on it too. It makes it all exciting here for Saturday night.
Yeah, I'm pretty notorious for saying that I am not one that drives a lot on the sim up in the broadcast booth all of the time, but I think this is my favorite stock car on the service. It's not like we paired it up with the Bristol just for fun, although it really is, Justin, because of course tomorrow, I keep saying next Sunday, tomorrow afternoon on a Fox at FS1, the Pro Invitational Series is going to come here with your NASCAR Cup Series drivers, and they'll as well go through heat races to set the field, but really this ARCA Menards Series style car is just a ton of fun, but this is a really difficult racetrack. A lot of the reason why we're racing here tonight is because there were so many drivers that wanted to get on the action. The format that we've been using for the last 2 weekends just could not accommodate everybody, and even into this race, I mean, our field is bursting at the seams, but for a lot of the drivers, and this has been a point that we've talked about all, for the last 2-3 weeks, for the drivers who don't have a lot of iRacing experience, Bristol is really a daunting task to throw in front of them. It may may be one of the most difficult tracks on the service, no matter how veteran of a driver you are or not. So it's going to be really interesting to see. I think these drivers try to get out there and have some fun, but maybe as well talking with some drivers, get out there and try to survive what is Thunder Valley.
Absolutely, this is such a difficult track because the lap times are very quick. Around 14 nines to 15 flats was the average for these drivers in preparation for tonight's action. Many of the competitors were trying to battle that condition of getting close to the wall without tapping it, or trying to run the bottom side without snapping loose around the racetrack. So these drivers are going to be absolutely tested to the very limits to make sure they can keep their cars clean, because in many races here at Bristol, you never know when trouble can set afoot across this racetrack.
And another big thing to keep in mind with iRacing qualifying rules is the drivers are out there now doing single call qualifying, Tim, is that, in the race, you're going to see drivers leaning up on the outside wall. That's going to be part of the racing. In iRacing, the groove is right up and on the outside. But in qualifying, if you make any contact with the outside wall, your lap does not count. So I'm just taking a quick look through with 30 seconds left on the board. There's about a third to a quarter of the drivers who do not have a time in queue down, and I don't think that's because they opted to want to start at the back of their heat races. I think that's because they're getting a little bit too friendly with the outside fence.
Yeah, a lot of these drivers laying it all out because we talked about those top 4 positions in the heat. You have to qualify near the front to give yourself an opportunity to start near the front in these 20-lap heat races, and if you don't make the main event through the heat races, you got to go through a consi. So you don't want to be trapped behind the 8 ball early in this one, and I think one of those drivers that may have stepped on it a little bit too quick was Ty Majeski in his qualifying lap. I think he's going to start near the back.
He was the top driver of the practice session, but he does not get a time to qualify. So we get set to go racing for heat race number 1. Let's take a look at our NASCAR starting grid, and you can see it is Blake Cook on a pole position. He'll be accompanied by the 75, Landon Huffman at iRacing veteran, along with Derek Krause, Chase Cabry, row 2 and 3rd and 4th, Logan Seavey and Kaz Gralla Justin through P6.
Ryan Truex put in a lot of laps for tonight. He'll start in 7th tonight with Stuart Friesen in the 8th position. Joey Gase in 9th, one of the quickest drivers in 24-hour practice. Trevor Bayne rounds out the top 10. Christian Eckes, J.J. Yaley, and Tyler Ankrum round out the drivers in the field for Heat Race 1.
And again, this is Heat Race 1 of 4. Only the top 4 spots. Tim, you mentioned our magic number. Going to make it into the main event, and those LCQs later on are going to be packed, so you just want to get this one taken care of nice and easy. But qualifying is huge because, as we mentioned, no caution flags at all, no matter what happens in these heat races. So I don't even know if Blake Cook P1 feels safe.
I don't know if he does or not, but the start is going to be key. Get out there and get yourself a gap. Establish that and make sure you don't get caught up in any lap traffic in 20 laps. Somebody that may have a moment in behind you, make sure you set your sights on getting to the front. I like Landon Huffman on the outside, a driver that knows short tracks around the Carolinas. He'll be up on the wheel. I'd have to watch that Sim Seats car. I think that's probably my pick for heat race number 1 if we're going that way.
And of course, there's other drivers with a lot of experience on the short tracks and in the sim, and Chase Cabray, Derek Krause has been putting in a lot of practice time, Justin. But let's talk more about Bristol. The half mile with 26 to 30 degrees of banking in the straightaways that are 6 to 10 degrees. But honestly, you spend more time at the corners. High line riding here at Bristol is going to be the name of the game.
Yeah, many of these drivers, if you stay on the bottom side, you're going to lose grip on the bottom line, as many drivers had in practice. Or you're going to try and squeeze into the top as quick as you can to make sure you can get into a good rhythm. Majority of the passes we've seen at this racetrack throughout the past week have come a lot of times by taking away space on the right rear quarter panel and taking the top line away. Some of that aggression might come into play if you want to move on to the main.
Lights are off on top of the iRacing official pace truck. We're happy that you're spending your Saturday night with us here on RaceSpot TV, the iRacing Sports Network, as we get set to drop the hammer on Saturday Night Thunder. It all starts right here with heat race number 1, and it'll be the Filter Time Chevy of Blake Cook at the front of the field, looking for one of 4 tickets into the 150 later on. The pace car's off and in. Green flag flies. We're Heat 1 racing in Bristol.
The 19 of Kraus stuck on the inside line. The 67 of Logan Seavey going to try to get to the outside. That is your battle for the bubble right now in P4 as they dive it down into corner number 3. And the lead, Landon Huffman, halfway sideways. He saves it to the inside, but he's going to lose a ton of spots here.
Yeah, that was a huge slot. He was able to reel it in, but you see there, he goes all the way to the back as he loses spots. Now more cars bouncing off the ball at a 2 as Tyler Ankrum caught some fence, but as your top 3 break away, this is the battle for the transfer spot. The 2-9 of Kaz Gralla moves up into 4th, made the pass on Derek Kraus. These two right now fighting for 4th and 5th.
And remember, with Derek Kraus, we've seen this a bit at Texas. He's not afraid to use the bump and run, and that's something he's done as well in his iRacing career. So I'm curious to see if he does the same thing here on Kaz Gralla here. Kaz Gralla doing a great job carrying momentum along that middle of the top line and trying to arc it on down to diamond it.
Gralla, the driver to Boston Mass, the NASCAR Xfinity Series competitor, currently trying to hold off Kraus. You can see the race leaders up the road with the onboard shot with P5. It is still Cook 1, Capre 2nd, and Logan Seavey in 3rd. No changes there, and here's a peek out of the inside. Kraus looking to turn number 1, but again, with that preferred lane to beat on the outside, going to be oh so tough. He cannot make it happen there as we work lap 6 of 20.
You're going to have to dig deep and dig really deep in order to get that spot away from the 29 of Kaz Gralla. They're getting a little bit racy up near the front of the field. Your top 3 nose to tail as well, but they should be content to ride right now. This battle for position number 4, should something happen to those top 3, it's going to allow these guys to really capitalize and give themselves some insurance trying to get in to the feature event a little bit later on. But content to ride right now. Your battle for position number 4 is the 19 of Kraus gets right back up to Gralla.
And it is an interesting point. Does Cabre want to make a move for the race lead as we continue to watch the battle now for the transfer spot with Gralla and Kraus, because we are not going to requalify Justin Prince for that main event later on this evening. So if you win heat race number 1, you are starting on pole for the Saturday Night Thunder 150. The second place finisher in this race will start in 5th. Third place finisher will start in 9th. So yes, all of those top 3 are in if they combine their P's and Q's. But man, what a world of a difference it would be between, starting possibly in 1st, or if you're the 4th transfer, starting that race in 13th position. Big difference. And again, that is set based on finishing position in this heat race, as now we take a look back up at the battle for the race lead.
If I was in this battle for the race lead, yes, track position would be very helpful in my opinion, but at the same time, do you want to risk being over-aggressive, Evan, and having trouble? And that time, a little bit of a bump. There goes the 04. 67 moves up a spot.
It almost looked like Cabre was a little bit loose before Logan Seavey actually got into him, but they did make contact, certainly moved the 4 car up and out of the way. Now it is the 67 machine through and on to 2nd position as they run now. Still no changes from behind in the battle for the transfer position. Kaz Gralla's got it. Derek Kraus wants it. Next time by, going to be just 6 laps to go. Tim Terry, he's within about a car length or so. So if he should decide to send it in, I would consider Kraus is within striking distance.
And 2 seconds and change back to the next driver in position number 6. You saw that gap there. So if you're going to make the move, maybe use that chrome horn, maybe a little bit of a bump and run. There is your battle for 6. With the 81 and the 75, Landon Huffman has made a really good rebound. I think he's going to run at a time, Evan, but I think he might get a good spot for the con. See a little bit later on as they go side by side for 6th.
This is the battle, and again, this will determine starting position for the LCQ a little bit later on. So even if you are inside of a bubble spot or outside where you do finish in this race is always going to be important. The 75 of Eckes, they're still doing battle back in the pack. Race leader strung out single file. Blake Cook leading. CV 2nd. Cabre 4th. Kaz Gralla, the car in front of Derek Kraus, who we ride on the board with right now. Gralla is the last transfer spot in. 3 laps to go.
And Gralla's in a great position here, coming to 2 lap to go mark. Just a big enough cushion where as long as he doesn't make a mistake, in my opinion, Evan, he's going to be likely moving on to this race. He just has to make sure he doesn't get in trouble. Kraus is against the wall.
Yeah, the 19 car overstepped it a little bit, and that might do it because Kraus falls way behind as he pushed that car too far to turn 4. Meanwhile, up in front, Blake Cook takes the white flag. 1 lap to go at Bristol in heat race number 1. Seavey still on the bumper in the 67. Does he try to make a hero move into turn 3? No. And Blake Cook's going to go pole to checkers. Blake Cook wins in heat race 1E along with Logan Seavey, Chase Cabry, and Kaz Gralla. Gonna go feature race racing tonight from Bristol. They are your top 4.
And that'll put Derek Kraus, first driver on the outside, looking in. We'll give him a good spot in the Consi. Landon Huffman, Ryan Truex, and the rest of the field that you see on your screen will have to work their way through one of the 2 last chance qualifiers to get into the show. But just as quickly as that, Evan, we're getting ready for heat race number 2 to hit the racetrack.
And it doesn't wait for anybody. Let's take a look at your Heat Race 2 starting grid. Kyle Weatherman will bring us to the green flag. He'll be joined by the Donnie Dottershita, Joshua Palicki on the outside of the front row in second. Last weekend's qualifier race at Texas, winner Alex LeBay starting in third. He'll be joined by NASCAR Gander Outdoors Truck Series driver Jesse Awuji in fourth. And then Brendan Poole and Brandon Brown to make up row 3.
Bailey Curry starts in the 7th position tonight alongside Ryan Ellis in the 78. Sam Mayer, he'll start in row number 5 alongside Michael Annette. Rounding out the top 12, Chandler Smith, and one of the drivers who put in the most lap times out of anybody in preparation for tonight, Jeff Burton. The final driver of the field is Spencer Boyd.
He's on his own slide there, all on his own. That's a look at your top starting positions. And just so note, we mentioned that some of these drivers may have struggled in the qualifying session. Only the top 10 cars put down a time in the queue. So Smith and Burton and Boyd, 11th, 12th, and 13th position. Their starting spots, Tim, may not be indicative of the speed they've got. Just means they may have messed up in the qualifying session.
And they're going to have to get up on the wheel. We saw with Landon Huffman on the last heat race at one little bobble at the start. He made his way back up to 6th, but that was about it. He couldn't get any further up because he ran out of laps. We'll see what happens here as we get ready to go green. I like Alex LeBay on the inside line. The problem is, though, we saw it on the last restart too, Evan. You got to try to get up. We'll see who can get to that outside line first.
And that is definitely going to be the key also on that first race. We saw a couple of the cars wreck out on lap 1, staying in the game for 20 laps as well. Going to be very critical. Pace truck going to dive down and in. Let's see what Kyle Weatherman's got. He's the best in heat race number 2 as he gets set to bring us to it. Green flag flies, and immediately here comes LeBay. It'll be side by side for second to turn 1.
Weatherman just caught everybody sleeping there on that start already. LeBay able to take advantage perfectly. But that already moves Awuji into the protection spot, that bubble spot, because it's craziness behind them. Near 3 wide, fighting for the 5th position on back.
And there was a little bit of contact. The 15 to Brennan Poole on the bottom got rubbed up by Bailey Curry. More contact now as Curry is into the back of Brown. He'll cross down to the inside. This fight for 5th and 6th on track. But it looks like that Curry is going to have a problem trying to make the inside line work. Brendan Brown's ringing it around the outside. But I'll tell you what, Tim, the 05 not giving up that all-white car down on the inside, making this a logjam for P5 on back.
Brown got the fence off turn 2 the last time by, so he's trying to make sure that he doesn't do that again, or it'll open the door for that 05 to the inside to pick up that position. It's closed in. Ellison behind. It's closed in the 46 at Chandler Smith. Almost a little bit of contact again. They're leaning on each other one more time as they run down the front straightaway, but this is the battle for position number 5. They're letting that transfer position, your top 4, drive away.
Yeah, you can see that 4th on up is continuing to pull away as this side-by-side continues. I thought that Curry may have pulled in line there, but it was just for a brief moment, took the nose back out, and now the 05 machine tucks back in line. So Brandon Brown's able to defend P5 for the moment. There's a shot at a turn number 2 as the 05 machine's going to push him down the straightaway. Behind him, Chandler Smith to the inside of Poole. Oh, and he's going to turn him. The 46 with the slide job. He gets dumped. Ellis is involved again. No yellow in the heat races, but taking exception to the slide job was Brennan Poole, who dumped Chandler Smith in that battle.
Yeah, that was a very intriguing decision from Brennan Poole, to say the least. Chandler Smith nearly got clear, just too close in that contact. But here's the frustrating thing, though, with the fight that went on between Brown and Curry. They've been spending so much time here fighting side by side. that they've completely lost chances to reel back in the 36 machine. With how hard they run side by side here at this racetrack, Evan, you lose about a couple tenths a lap just by running side by side like this. And more door contact.
Yeah, these guys continue to go after it, and again, they may have just kind of dug their own hole as that battle for fourth on up was able to pull away. It was pretty much unchallenged for Bilicki in third, and Awuji, who still sits in P4. These drivers would have had to make up in about a second, but even once, Brandon Brown had control, and now that Bailey Curry's gotten around him, it really hasn't mattered all that much because those top four still the fastest. You're watching now the battle for the race win. We mentioned Alex LeBay, who won that Texas qualifier last Sunday morning to punch his ticket into the Pro Invitational Series O'Reilly Auto Parts 125. Got to race with the big boys on Fox and FS1. Tonight just racing for the bragging rights, Tim Terry, and he's all over the back of Kyle Weatherman that time with 8 laps to go.
All these race car drivers want to win. It doesn't matter if it's a heat race, a consi, or the main event. The 90 of LeBay trying to get back to victory lane and pick up a heat race victory. He might have some lap traffic here, though, coming up in the 78 of Ryan Ellis. We'll see how our leaders attack this, but the 54 up the racetrack. The 90 of LeBay will do the same. Weatherman holds that lead. LeBay taking another peek to the inside. They'll come by this time with 14 complete.
And they're going to have to deal with some lap traffic. The 15 machine of Brennan DePool going to be next up on deck. He's in the race line. As you can see, he's driving down the back straightaway with the hood up on that 15 machine. I hope he's got triple monitors so we can see where he's going. All of that part of that new damage model that you do not see yet on the Cup cars on iRacing. But these ARCA Menards Series cars are kind of the guinea pig for the oval side. You can lose bumpers, break tie rods, and have hoods pop up like that as you look off of the back end of Kyle Weatherman. LeBay continuing to try to pick a look to the inside, but he can't do so. Next time by Justin, we'll see 3 laps to go. He gets close, but not close enough yet to challenge for P1.
I think for LeBay to try and get this bottom side to work that he's been so committed to trying to get to work, he's going to basically need to go to the middle of the racetrack nearly, force Weatherman to have to get off the gas and force him to get tight and try and avoid the wall. Otherwise, he's going to be stuck back there. So if I'm LeBay, you have to continue to keep the pressure up here coming to the white flag this time.
We saw an attempted pass for the race win in heat race model, though we, unable to really go for the move there was Seavey, who stayed for second position. Does LeBay go for the second last lap pass in a row? White flag in the air. Final time around for heat race 2. Weatherman's gone pole to the race lead so far. Here's the 90. Looking to the inside is LeBay on the quarter panel. Can't make it happen. And Kyle Weatherman gets the heat race win from Bristol. He'll be joined by LeBay, Bilicki, and Awuji. 1, 2, 3, 4. They all finish exactly the top 4. Nobody dropped out. Nobody jumped up and in. And those 4 drivers, Tim, are moving on.
Curry was closing at the end, but just could not get there for position number 4. You see the rest of the drivers on your screen. They'll be going to a consi or a last chance qualifier to get themselves into the show. And just like that, we're getting ready to rack and stack heat number 3 for this event, as we're going to see some familiar names in here, Evan, and a couple of drivers that we mentioned missed the mark in qualifying. I think there's a couple of big names in here we're going to have to watch.
Yeah, there are, and it all starts as we take a look at your starting grid for heat race number 3 with Anthony Alfredo on top. He's been able to race his way into the Sunday afternoon show the last 2 weeks. Instead, looking for the Saturday Night Thunder win here tonight brings us to the green flag. He's joined by the 7 of Justin Allgaier in second. Will Rogers and Joe Graff Jr. going to double up for 0-2. That'll put them third and fourth position, with Matthew Bills rolling from P5 and Ruben Garcia, another one of those transfers from last week, in 6th.
Seventh position features Justin Haley alongside Harrison Burton in row number 4, with Myatt Snyder in 9th. One of the big names referred to, Ty Majeski, the highest I-rating driver in all the service, starts in 10th after missing the mark in qualifying. Scott Stetzel starts in 11th, and rounding out the grid, it's Stephen Light.
We looked out the bottom at your 12 starters for heat race number 3. You mentioned the notable iRacers at the back. Should also mention that you'll see the likes of Harrison Burton and Myatt Snyder competing this upcoming week with NASCAR America on NBCSN as they do the Esports Short Track iRacing Challenge starting Monday, 7 o'clock Monday through Thursday. Some of NASCAR's top stars on the short track. So keep an eye out for that as well if you're looking for a racing fix once the weekend comes to a close and we go back to the work week. The lights, though, out on top of the iRacing official pace truck. Let's see what Anthony Alfredo can do from the top at his Real Tree Camo Chevy. Justin Allgaier on the outside of the front row. And that last time, again, the drivers who started inside of the top 4 were able to maintain. Let's see how this one shakes out. We go on the command of the 33 car. Green flag flies underway. Allgaier's going to keep a nose in front for second, and already wrecking behind. Garcia's involved, so is Burton, the 11 car also.
Yeah, we've got a multi-car incident back there, but obviously we stayed green up near the front of the field. Your top 3, Evan, were able to get single file, and that's where everything broke out for position number 4. Joe Graff is off the racetrack as well in the 80 into the inside wall. So he was fighting for that transfer position, but it looks like he'll have to fight for a position in the Consi now, by the looks of it.
He drops out, so through all of the smoke and chaos, it is Alfredo, Allgaier, Rogers, still 1, 2, and 3. So they were unaffected by that chaos, but then it is that number 5 that you see there of Matthew Mills in 4th. He was able to get around Graff as he spun to take over 4th, which right now is that tentative transfer spot. Ty Majeski again messed up in qualifying, hit the wall. His lap did not count. He goes 10th to 5th. We ride on board with him, and as the 5 of Mills is into the outside wall, you cannot get away with that. Ty Majeski, he moves through into 4th.
And sometimes you can be quick, sometimes you get lucky, and sometimes you have to mix of both. My goodness, Majeski cutting his way to the field with some of the luck here. Now it's the matter, though, of trying to hold on. He's got some good pace. He was pretty quick in practice. He was the second quickest, mind you. And it helps, too, that some of the cars he needs to hold off are fighting for 6th.
Yeah, that is going to help these transfers. As you can see, the 25 is Stephen Light down to the inside. On the 63 is Scott Stenzel. Stenzel making a move around on the outside. I mentioned Huffman, a long-time iRacer. Scott in that same boat, doing a lot of private league racing back in the day, of course, with his NASCAR Truck Series starts. And looks like Light got into the outside wall there, so Stenzel going to be on his own for P6. Mills still in 5th, and the side-by-side action is towards the front of the field. Will Rogers diving to the inside of Allgaier. He'll take away 2nd spot as he sets his sights on 1st.
The 55 looks pretty sporty here in the early laps of this heat race. Going to try to get up to the lead. And Anthony Alfredo. Alfredo made the first Pro Invitational back a couple of weeks ago, and now trying to win here on a Saturday Night Thunder show as he'll take that lead position. It might get racy again here, Evan, for position number 2. You're right on board with the number 7 of Justin Allgaier, who's trying to get up to what will be now a battle for the lead. Little twitch from Will Rogers as he is up on the wheel trying to get Alfredo.
10 laps down, 10 laps to go to Bristol. A battle's going on behind Allgaier as Ty Majeski looks to the bottom. 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th are all stacked up here. This could allow Mills in 5th to close the gap. So I think that's why Majeski flashed the nose to Allgaier. He wants to make this pass happen sooner rather than later. But Justin, also, this is a great opportunity to see just how important do these drivers feel starting position is in that main event. Again, the top 4, where they sit, they're all in, but they would start in drastically different spots amongst the 4 of them.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see where this is going to work out. I think Majeski's got one of the quickest cars in the entire field right now. He was a 10th quicker last time by. It's just the problem of it's easy to reel someone in. It's hard to pass them here at Bristol. If I was any of these drivers, I'd stay patient, hold on to the positions, because if you risk it with an aggressive move and make contact here at this point, Matt Mills might be able to jump in instead.
He's been closing just a little bit the last time through, though. Didn't gain as much time, so I thought maybe this backup would have allowed Mills to get onto the bumper to Majeski. But for the moment, you can see your top 4 still have a clear advantage over everybody else. They're all high side riding. 5 laps to go for Alfredo. So in our opening 2 heat races, it has been the driver who started on pole that won it. Blake Cook in heat race 1, Kyle Weatherman in 2, and Anthony Alfredo doing everything he can to keep Will Rogers behind him in heat race 3.
And the control car here in this battle is Ty Majeski. Majeski taking a look to the inside. He has a little bit of a gap back to position number 5. So if you ride here, you're safe. You ride on board with Ty Majeski. But on the other side, Evan, if you make that spot up in front of you, that's 3 more spots you don't need to make in the feature race, albeit it is 150 laps and you got a long way to go in that one. But makes your work just a little bit easier as he looks up at Justin Allgaier and the rest of the top 3 as they come down this time and see 2 laps to go.
Rogers was able to make that pass at Allgaier, a few laps back for second and third, so we know the 55 machine's possible of making the moves, but it looks like Alfredo is just too far away, 2.5, now 3 car lengths out in front. The one thing that Anthony Alfredo mentioned to me this week is he wants races that go green, mainly referring to that main event, and when he can get some green flag laps, he is strong. Final time in 3 and 4, and Anthony Alfredo's gonna win heat race number 3. He's going to the Saturday Night Thunder 150. A look to the inside late. Rogers stays in front of Allgaier as they finish 2 and 3. And Ty Majeski was able to come from the back, Justin, to finish it 4th and to move on.
And Matt Mills looks strong pretty early until he takes the outside wall. Scott Stencil doesn't move on. Stephen Light, Ruben Garcia, Joe Graff Jr., Justin Haley among some of the drivers who had troubles in heat race number 3, who will now have to go through the consolation races. It's going to get interesting to see what happens here, to see who punches their tickets in.
We advance now with the amount of drivers in the field. Slight modification to the starting order into the format. Instead of 4 heat races, that'll be modified to just 3. So we're ready for LCQ number 1. We take a look at your starting grid, and it is Derek Kraus and Matthew Mills on the front row. They'll bring us to the green flag, joined by Brandon Brown and Ryan Truex in second, on the row 2, I should say, 3rd and 4th. With Stephen Light and Ryan Ellis through P6.
In page number 2 here sees Joey Gase, Joe Graff Jr., Sam Mayer, J.J. Yaley, Myatt Snyder, and Jeb Burton. So 12 drivers, it looks like, going to go for this first Consi race. And with no heat race number 4, Evan, it allows us to take 6 from Consi number 1. So half of the drivers will make it in, half of the drivers will head to the pits, load it up in the hauler, and probably try again the next time we do this.
You've already entered what is effectively 16 drivers into the main event, 4 from each of those first 3 heat races. So in order to make our main field number of 24, you're right, we lose 2 from non-existent heat races, or we lose 4. So we'll add 2 onto each of these last chance races. So 6 going to advance from this LCQ number 1, and as well from LCQ number 2, that is going to happen immediately following. And the tail of the tape, Justin Prince, doesn't change much. Still 20 laps, no caution flags. But these drivers have learned, I think, that qualifying up front and having a good opening lap is going to be the key.
I think so, and as well, keeping the cars very clean. Ryan Truex had some bad luck in his race. He was one of the drivers in track position, ended up having door-to-door contact. Stephen Light, we've seen him having some trouble in the backdrop of some of the action. Joey Gase, he was quick in practice. He's going to be someone, I think, that might be very aggressive along that bubble spot. There's a lot of cars who showed great consistent pace in preparation for tonight, who have just not had anything go their way. It's the matter now, though, of keeping yourself in contention for the top 6.
And that's part of Bristol, is you can kind of do everything you can, but wrong place at the wrong time. Your night could be done in the blink of an eye. The pace truck's going to head off and in. Derek Kraus, again, just missed it at heat race 1 by finishing into P5, but he is going to be the control race as we get set to drop the hammer on LCQ number 1. Pace cars off and away, and so is your pole sitter. Kraus to turn 1 as we're underway and fighting side by side for second. Brown on the inside of Mills, but it's not going to stick.
We saw Brandon Brown up on that outside line in his heat race trying to battle with Bailey Curry, and now he's got position number 3 away as they drive it down the front straightaway. Top 7 are single file. Got one around, that's Jeb Burton and J.J. Yaley.
Tough break for those drivers who started outside of a transfer spot. They are slow and try to get things back going, but again, no cautions. We keep racing. Watching the fight now for 3rd as the 40 car of Ryan Truex has got it outside on Brandon Brown. The 25 is Stephen Light to follow him through also.
And Jeb Burton's actually holding up the race leaders and just caused a change for the lead. Matt Mills just got through as more trouble behind.
It is way checked up as Burton stayed in that preferred lane, and your new race leader is Mills. Kraus on the bumper now. You can see Ryan Ellis diving down to the apron. His LCQ may be done, but Derek Kraus had been fine until he got stuck behind Burton on the outside of turn 2. The 5 car went to the bottom, and to be honest, Jeb Burton's just holding the outside line, Tim. I think he knows that he's in the racing line, but at that point, he's just trying to stay in this race. Who knows if more cars rack out? You could end up being P6, so that is to the benefit of Mills and to the detriment of Kraus, who falls to 2nd.
And to what Justin mentioned, battling around that transfer position, Stephen Light went for a spin. It collected the 78 of Ryan Ellis. It collected the 53 of Joey Gay. So now with these no cautions, Evan, you really have to get up on the wheel, salvage what you have, because now that we're taking 6, you have to be sure that you're in that top 6. And if this continues on, if this action continues as wild as it is Myatt Snyder going to have a hard time seeing out of that number 93 car as he continues to battle with Joey Gase. If this continues to be wild, you might end up getting a top 6 position with a little bit of fender damage on your race car.
Yeah, with the roof of that thing, or I guess I should say the hood of that thing popped up, that's when those triple screens with the VR could come to hand. You can kind of stick your hand, your head out to the left, maybe like you're sticking a hand out the window and try to see where you're going. But the battle for the race lead is not done with. Again, yes, the top 6 are all in, but as we've stressed, the better you finish here, the better you start in the main event. So I promise you, if Derek Kraus gets an opportunity, he will try to make a move on Mills. It's Mills 1, Kraus 2, and Ryan Truex in third. Lap traffic. Oh, and Mills going to get turned. Matthew Mills from the lead is collected by traffic as he could not clear the 80 off of the quarter.
And this race is just taking some wild turns, let's just say that. Let's take a look at this quickly here, and you'll see lap traffic's trying to stay up the high side. They couldn't see where they were going, and then he drifts down the racetrack trying to avoid the wall. Just my goodness, what a time for that to happen.
And Graf was still out on track, Tim, because he was running in 7th. So if just one more car had a problem, he would have been okay. So that's why he was limping around the outside. But then he takes out your leader. Mills has fallen to 7th. His night is done. He is bringing that car to pit lane, and he can pack it up and go home because he will not advance to the show. So now Derek Kraus, who lost the race lead to misfortune, now takes the race lead due to somebody else's misfortune. He's back in front. Truex to 2nd. Brown to 3rd. Those are the only drivers left on the lead lap in this crazy last chance qualifier. Myatt Snyder is 5th. Joey Gase just passed him for 4th. And Jeb Burton, minus the back bumper and all with the wreck on the opening lap, is currently P6 in the final transfer.
And he just drove around Myatt Snyder to take P5 to put Snyder in the transfer position. Snyder, right there on your screen, is the last driver 1 lap down right now, and that is your final transferee into the main event. We're coming down to the final few laps of this one, so all he's got to do is try to hold on and make sure that he does not lose any more ground, and he's in the main event as Derek Kraus continues to lead. He'll come by this time and complete lap number 17.
And he has a benefit because the next car would be P7, J.J. Yaley, who is 2 laps down. So Snyder is effectively a whole lap ahead. Although granted, with that obscured view, I'm not sure how well it is going to work out for him. His race leader is going to work on it by Kraus, taking 2 laps to go. That time by. Still no changes in your top 3. We thought the heat races were wild. How about LCQ number 1? Derek Kraus going to take the white flag one more time around in a caution-free, crash-filled last chance qualifier. The 19 Shockwave entry. Final time into turns 3 and 4, and he's going to go race it in the main event. Checkered flag. Kraus wins in the LCQ. He'll be joined by Ryan Truex in 2nd, Brandon Brown in 3rd, Gase P4, Burton hangs on for 5th, and Myatt Snyder in P6.
J.J. Yaley just short of a transfer spot to the main show. He put in some of the most laps in out of everybody for this preparation. Stephen Light, Joe Graf Jr., Matt Mills, Ryan Ellis, Sam Mayer, all out after some absolute heartbreakers in this one.
And if you thought that was crazy, we've got another one. Let's re-rack them and re-stack them as we get set for our final prelim of the night. It is LCQ number 2. Bailey Curry going to bring us to the green flag in this one. We'll be joined by Landon Huffman, who starts in 2nd. Scott Stenzel and Spencer Boyd going to roll for row 2 in 3rd and 4th position, with Christian Eckes in P5, and Ruben Garcia, who raced in last Sunday's big show, P6.
Look at that row number 4. Chandler Smith and Tyler Ankrum, 2 drivers we're going to have to watch here in this LCQ. Justin Haley, Michael Annette, Stuart Friesen, Harrison Burton, and Trevor Bain are going to complete your field of drivers. And I know, Evan, when we usually make our picks on Tuesday nights, me, you, and Randy, I know we try not to jinx anybody, so I'm not going to mention the driver on the outside of row number 1 because I did that in the heat race. So as long as he can keep it straight, he should be able to get in to the feature event. Had some tough luck in that heat race. We'll see who gets the clean start this time in Consi number 2.
And since you're feeling so confident about picks, once we're done here with LCQ2, before we go racing for the Saturday Night Thunder 150, we're going to do an around the horn in the booth, and we're going to make some picks and see who we think is going to come out victorious after 150 laps here from the world's fastest half mile. But LCQ1 was total chaos. Again, there are no caution flags in these last chance qualifiers. So will this one be equally as entertaining? As Bailey Perry's got the best spot, the pole sitter has won every prelim race so far tonight. We'll see if the 05 can hold that trend. The pace car's off and in. They'll slow up the field. Curry's going to get turned. Stenzel into the back of the 05, and your pole sitter already wrecks. It's Landon Huffman to the race lead from second.
And it just looked like that when its back tires got picked up off the ground, it just stalled Curry's engine. That can happen with these ARCA Menards machines. And now this completely changed the complexion of this entire race.
The shape of these cars, the front end can really jack up the car in front of you. Stenzel got into the back of him, got hit by Eckes, and your race leader wrecks out before even getting a crack. Another spin it out. It's Eckes on the back straightaway. His Safelite Auto Glass machine is into the wall. His night's going to end. And just like we expected, chaos in the opening laps. And the driver, Tim, who shall not be named from the outside of the front row, Landon Huffman up to the race lead.
Yeah, Huffman takes the advantage. The battle for position number 2 is on your screen now. It's Spencer Boyd, Ruben Garcia, Harrison Burton in the 20, and Justin Haley not too far behind either in the number 11 car. So 4 cars going for position number 2. As long as they can keep it straight, Evan, they're locked in to the feature event. But we've seen these Consi races go a little sideways. Ruben Garcia did really well last week at Texas going in to that Pro Invitational. Makes that move for position number 2. Move the 27 up to the runner-up spot, and Harrison Burton down to the inside.
Yeah, we expected big things out of the driver, the 27, the driver from Mexico City, Mexico, with the ARCA Menards Series starts, as well as the Peak NASCAR Mexico Series. And the 27 car safely into second. Boyd stays in third because that move by Harrison Burton did not work out. He actually lost a spot to that Leaf Filter 10 car of Justin Haley. So Haley's fourth. Burton slides back to P5, but in all honesty, I would consider it a win for both Burton and Friesen because, Justin, they started 12th and 11th respectively, but because of the chaos on the start, they're up in transfer spots P5 and 6.
Yeah, this is an absolute victory for these cars. As long as they keep it clean, we've seen that situation before. But mind you, Haley actually had a lot of speed in this race car for tonight. In final warm-ups, was one of the quickest cars in practice, is showing that muscle once again in this race. Right now, these drivers, though, are losing about 2/10 a lap to Huffman and Garcia.
Yeah, those top two are stretching away. Garcia pulling away from this battle for third, but not quite catching Huffman. So the 75 seems to be on his own island up at the front of the field. And this exchange for third on the back is the fight. You're all in, so how aggressive do you want to be? With 11 laps to go at LCQ2, you're on board with Harrison Burton. Front row seat of the attacker, Justin Haley to the inside of Boyd. He'll look for the slide job in the corner, and the O2 machine playing smart lets him have it. The 11 car kind of played a game of chicken there. Tim Terry one out, and so does Burton. They both know that Boyd does not want to wreck that race car, and they kind of took advantage of him there.
Took a little bit of an advantage here as you see the 05 of Bailey Curry go to the inside, 1 lap down, trying to get his lap back and race some way into this feature event. Got Stuart Friesen into the back. Bumper's got Spencer Boyd back there as well, but the battle for position number 3 continues to heat up as Justin Haley holds off Harrison Burton. You talked about that, maybe the sense of urgency per se, Evan. These drivers, as long as they continue to run, they'll be locked into the show, but we might have a battle for a transfer spot here soon. About 9 lengths or so is Chandler Smith off of Stuart Friesen. That will be the battle for 6th here in about 3 laps.
The 46 is way faster. I don't think Stuart Friesen's going to make it to the main event here in the 52 car. There he is, and the challenger is the 46 of Chandler Smith. Next time by, 5 laps to go. Friesen wants to go the low way around the traffic. The 46 car might get pinched in up top here. These two cars side by side for the last spot in the big show, and there's not room for Smith out high. He's stuck behind the traffic.
I think Smith's the faster car. He just needs to play this smart because he knows both of these drivers are going to be very defensive here. How about 3 wide at Bristol?
Oh, and he's going to door him now. Smith got into the wall. Oh, and the 0-2 of Boyd bounces off the fence. So Friesen moves to 4th. Look at the 46 car. He'll go on through, and it is Spencer Boyd who falls out of a transfer spot into 7th position. Boyd trying to headhunt at 3 to go.
Boyd's got some right front suspension damage to that race car, but it ain't holding him back right now as he tries to pick up that spot the 46 of Chandler Smith currently in. But as you mentioned, Evan, he better run.
Yeah, he is trying to get to him with everything he can, but I think that was it. I thought Friesen was on the hot seat, but as Boyd came back to him, Friesen set the pick on traffic. Smith was able to get on a Boyd, and it is Boyd dropping off at the back. As up front, it is Landon Huffman, all on his own for the race lead. He'll take home the win, and LCQ number 2. Right place at the right time, and never looked back. The biggest margin of victory we've seen tonight. Huffman is going to our 150-lap feature along with Ruben Garcia, Justin Haley, Harrison Burton, Stuart Friesen, and Chandler Smith.
Heartbreaker for Spencer Boyd, where his tires just seemed to fall off at the end of the run. Bailey Curry 1 lap down after the disastrous start we just seen to begin this last chance qualifier. Christian Eckes, Scott Stenzel, Todd Rankum, Michael Annett, Trevor Bain also done for the night.
And now it all changes because the preliminary events have come and gone, and we have set our field of 24 cars for this feature race. Tim Terry, we mentioned it off at the top, but we'll refresh everybody's memory. If you're just joining us, 150-lap feature race. Cautions are coming from the tower, so that does not mean, unlike in most iRacing sessions, that a wreck will automatically trigger a caution flag. It is up to the discretion of the iRacing and NASCAR officials that are in the virtual tower. You get 1 reset, and should it be necessary, 3 attempts at a green-white checkered finish. The biggest thing is here is we saw total chaos when we put 12 cars on track at a time. We are doubling that for this main event.
But you do have laps to get this done. You got 150 laps to get to the front of the field. Maybe you had that dismal qualifying effort. We saw Ty Majeski miss the mark in qualifying. He made his way in through his heat race, but he's going to start in position number 12 by the looks of it. So he's got some work to do. Same case with Landon Huffman. After having issues in the heat race, he's going to start in position number 14. So you've got 2 drivers right there starting about mid-pack that were really sporty in their qualifying races to transfer in, and now they've got some work to do, but they've got 150 laps to do it, maybe a little bit of patience. This is Bristol, though. We saw some beating and banging. We saw some drivers lean into each other a little bit. You can do this with this ARCA Menards style car that we're running this evening. I can't wait for this. 150 laps is going to be fun.
And Tim was pretty confident in who he thought was going to advance through some of those LCQs. So why not? Let's do a around the horn up here with the Race Spot TV broadcast booth. And Justin, will go to you first. 150 laps on the board and 24 drivers set to take the green flag. Who do you think parks it in victory lane?
You know, I think a lot of the thought is of one thing drivers off the top of our head. But I'm going to go a little bit off the beaten path. I think I'm going to go Alex Labay, actually. Because I've liked what I've seen what LeBay has done, not just in real life when it comes to the Xfinity Series and the Xfinity Series, but I also like what he's done on the iRacing service. He's someone that's been on the service for a few years. Used to, at one point, mind you, run his own league in the series back in the early part of the last decade, and is someone that can absolutely have some great speed and showed it throughout his time so far here at Bristol tonight. Alex LeBay is my pick.
He's going to be starting from P5. Tim Terry, how about you?
Yeah, it's going to be tough to top Alex Labay. He's got track position, but it's 150 laps. Let's try Landon Huffman again in the 75. Looked really sporty in that Gonzi.
I was going to think that one of you guys were going to take the Ty Majeski pick. He starts in 12th, so we're obviously going to be keeping an eye on him. But I'll go Chase Cabray in the 04 machine, a driver who, again, has won a lot of races here on iRacing. On the short tracks, he's P7. I think that's pretty good track position for him. Again, 150 laps. I think starting up front is going to be critical, not just for your speed and indicative of your chances, but just to stay out of the chaos, because I promise you there's going to be a lot of twisted up virtual sheet metal by the time that this thing is said and done. Let's take a look, therefore, at our RaceSpot TV starting grid. Blake Cook, who won his heat race, will bring us the green flag. He'll be joined by Kyle Weatherman, heat race 2 winner, in second. The heat race 3 winner, Anthony Alfredo, starts in 4th, along with Logan Seavey in 4th. Alex LeBay rolls from 5th, and Bill Rogers just from P6.
In 7th position, Chase Cabray starts alongside Josh Bolecki with Justin Allgaier in 9th position. Cascarello rounds out the top 10 after some good defense to hold on to a transfer spot, with Jesse Wuji and Ty Majeski rounding out the top 6 rows.
Yeah, you got Derek Krause and Landon Huffman back here in row number 7. Ryan Truex, Ruben Garcia also going to be tough from row number 8. Brandon Brown is going to try to make his way up from position number 17. And on the outside of him, Justin Haley in the 10.
And then continuing on through final slide, starters 19th through 24th. You see the likes of Joey Gase, Harrison Burton, Jeb Burton, Stuart Friesen, Myatt Snyder, and Chandler Smith, who got that final ticket in for the LCQ. As a look at top to bottom at your RaceSpot TV starting grid. So a totally different name of the game, Tim Terry. Yes, you do need to survive, but with caution flags on and 150 laps on the scoring pylon, or I guess in Bristol's case on Colossus up there, this race is going to have to be approached a little bit differently.
Get yourself in a groove, get yourself in a rhythm, maybe get up to the high side if you can, and ride a little bit. Yes, there's lots of time to work here. Get yourself into a little bit of a rhythm and get to lap 150 as the iRacing pace truck rolls down the front straightaway this time. The lights will be off here, and we'll be ready to go green for 150 laps. These two up in front, Blake Cook, Kyle Weatherman, looked really good in their heat race. But now with some of those drivers really getting a feel for Bristol, we'll see what happens in these opening few laps.
There is no ticket into tomorrow's Pro Invitational Series on the line this time around. It is for bragging rights and the first ever win in the Saturday Night Thunder Series getting underway here tonight from Thunder Valley. As always, happy that you're spending your evening with us on RaceSpot TV and the iRacing Esports Network. The iRacing pace trucks off and in, and we say let's go racing from Bristol. Main event racing for Saturday Night Thunder.
And a beautiful start for Blake Cook to get away from the rest of the grouping. Now the main focus for many of these drivers, get to the top, get yourself in that rhythm, or else you're going to be losing a ton of positions and quick spinner in the pack.
Somebody's around in the middle of all of it as lap number 1. It comes to a close so far. No yellow. We'll see if it comes out from the tower. It's all going to determine on if there is a wreck big enough to where the track would not be clear. But the likes of Majeski were involved in that one. Brandon Brown, Landon Huffman, and others. So fast names collected, but we stay green at lap number 3 as the battle for the race lead starts to shake itself out. It is Cook first off at a 3 and 4. The virtual fans are on their feet. Tim Terry, an exciting start.
And the snake kind of lines around that outside line, about 9 deep right now for that top spot. Everybody trying to find a spot and content to ride. Alex LeBay, I think, might be the one that's kind of poking the lowest of anybody right now, trying to make something happen. He's got Will Rogers in behind, but these front drivers are just trying to log some laps right now as you look at the 55 of Rogers. Justin Allgaier to his back bumper.
And we expected some chaos. There was that big mess on the opening lap of this race, Justin. Again, those drivers involved do have one quick repair. If you're not familiar with that term on iRacing, basically the feature that everybody wants in the real world. You can bring that car down to the pit stall and basically get a brand new race car without having to sit down there through pit stop times and through repairs. So they could hop back onto the racetrack and get into this thing. But of course, I think with the field thinning out, could lend this race to going to green. You can see the 90 machine at LeBay. He now looks to the inside of Anthony Alfredo. A battle for 4th and 5th position on track. It is going to be very difficult to complete a move down low, and LeBay could easily get squeezed out of line if he can't do it, because the 55 of Will Rogers is right there as well. More funny to behind, the 4 of Chase Cabray up at the inside of the 7 of Justin Allgaier, who gets into the wall.
Yeah, still some hard-fought battling absolutely here. If I'm LeBay, you can make it work if you use that bottom apron as a ramp. The banking, I should rather say. And then try carry the momentum just like that. Force the driver to check up or have to get tight or burn up their tires. That's what LeBay did. Just waited patiently for the right moment, took it at the right time, and now Alfredo's struggling.
He's having a tough time. He's kind of getting beat up on here, but he does have the advantage at the preferred position. You can see Cabrera down on the inside for the 04 machine, side by side with Rogers, and I think Alfredo's searching for speed because even though he's not in the battle, you could see he was kind of ducking down low, not quite riding up along the outside, trying to find some speed. But, Chase Cabrera moves up into what is the number 6 position ahead of Will Rogers. Allgaier will drop back to the back of this group, and they're all chasing down Blake Cook up the front of the field. The fight though is on for third. Logan Seavey under attack by Alex LeBay. The 90 car has been putting it down. The NASCAR Pinty's Series driver representing all of the NASCAR drivers from north of the border. Of course, this race featuring drivers from the Xfinity Series, the Gander RV and Outdoors Truck Series, the ARCA Menards Series, the NASCAR Peak Mexico Series, and the Euro Series as well. So a lot of up-and-coming stars, and Alex LeBay is no stranger to iRacing. He wants to introduce himself to the top 3.
But when do you show your cards? We're on lap number 14, coming to the completion thereof this time. If you're the 90 of Alex LeBay, yes, you want to run in position number 3. Those leaders are already gone. Maybe see what you have on this run. But LeBay right now just trying to get on that back bumper and see what he has for Logan Seavey. Maybe try to set up his move. Battle for third continues on. And in behind, not too far, Chase Cabrera has made his way up. And we're about to have a 3-car battle for position number 3.
Yeah, that 4 machine, the 04 machine, I suppose, on the time it is scoring is on the move. But you have to wonder as well with LeBay, Justin, you heard Tim talking about, do you use up your equipment? Do you kind of show your deck of cards now, your hand? Well, the 4 machine has been on the move, and he hasn't really spent a lot of time in these battles. LeBay has had to work on some of these passes for a few laps, and iRacing's dynamic tire model and the dynamic track surface as well, as more heat gets put into the racetrack, more rubber gets put down, and the harder he works on the bottom, the more he's going to burn those tires up early. Could this come back to hurt him if this one really goes long? Working right now, lap number 19 of 150.
I think there's an absolute chance that if you burn up your tires quickly, you're going to be one of the drivers going back and quickly. We've already seen Alfredo, for example, fall off to the 15-4. It's a majority of the lead cars across this racetrack. You're either in the 2s or the 3s at the moment. So that's already a quick amount of fall off in this run so far amongst these competitors. So if you're able to save your right front tire especially, make sure you don't get too tight, the better you're going to be across this track.
You can see the 4 machine of Cabrera, Tim. He's trying to get to the inside of LeBay, but that 90 car is kind of holding the middle of this 3-car sandwich to fight for 3rd, 4th, and 5th right now, as Cook and Weatherman are pulling away up front.
Yeah, that battle continues on. We talked about drivers trying to push it and get up to the front. That number 4 of Cabrera has already tried to push himself up well into the top 5 as they go around the 20 of Burton. Now he looks to the outside, LeBay to the inside of Seavey. Great little battle forming up once again. 22 laps into this one, make it 23 this time by the 4 car. I think we're going to have a caution at some point, Evan, for these drivers to come down into pit road and get tires changed and put fuel in the race cars. So maybe this is a test to see how hard Chase can really push this number 4 car.
And that worked out great for the 4 machine with LeBay trying to get to the bottom of the racetrack, was that he really didn't have to get out of his line at all. He just stayed up at the outside, ran the line that he would normally run, and now he finds himself up into 4th position. Now, you're not going to get as lucky with Logan Seavey. The 67 ain't trying to peek to the bottom of everybody in front of him, so if you're Chase Cabrera now, if you want to make this next move, you're going to have to go to the bottom, and then you can be in the same position that LeBay found himself in, opening up the door for the car behind you. Full running order up at the top of your screen. 24 cars started this. All 24 are still on track. Brandon Brown, though, with the back, and a caution flag. For the first time, a wreck on the front straightaway. Jeb Burton in the 8 machine is around. And the first yellow of the afternoon comes at 25. Oh, but it was even further up. Ruben Garcia is where it all started, Justin.
Yes, indeed. And Garcia, he was trying to get into a good rhythm as cars were having problems in front of him. The problem is Landon Huffman, one of the lap cars, ended up accidentally taking around Garcia. That pinned Garcia around the wall. Then There's Jeb Burton saying hello by accident, smacking hard into contact. Stuart Friesen also collected in that.
Yeah, so a tough break, and you can actually see he wanted to get rolling there and actually pull forward into, in front of more traffic. Turn 4 is not a nice place that you want to be stuck up against the wall for, and that's a tough break for him. That's going to take him, not only him out of contention, but I think a lot of other drivers as well. There's the longer shot. You can see the wreck before, and he's holding the brake, but no room for Burton to get on to by as he's side by side. There's more contact as well, and a lot of heavy contact at a 4 puts us under this first caution flag of the afternoon. Blake Koch leading the race. The 57 car has opted not to come down to the pit lane. A split decision, though, as Logan Seavey in the 67 is bringing a whole host of cars down.
Yeah, I think it's more than a split decision. Top 2 stayed out. Landon Huffman stayed out to get some track position. Huffman's 3 laps down, so that's why he would be staying out. But your top 2 stay out on the racetrack. Everybody else, by the looks of it, on the lead lap, at least coming down into pit road to get service on their race cars. And I think this is a pretty good call on their part. Come down, get some tires on those race cars, and see what you have for the second run of this race, just past the 25 lap mark, working lap number 29 of 150.
Interesting timing as well for that caution flag, because while we were still under green flag conditions and Blake Koch was into the race lead, Kyle Weatherman was closing in on him. So as that number 54 machine comes out and is onto the racetrack right now in second position, I mean, he was already closing on the race leader as is. So we'll see if that's going to affect things for the Pit 4, if both of these cars kind of being the sitting ducks right now, if that's going to hinder their ability, just to kind of look at the lap times, Justin, in comparison, best lap of the race for your race leader, Blake Koch, came on 4. It was a 15.075. He had only dripped down to about the 15.4s or so when that caution flag came out. So, it was not been that bad for him at, it is about a half a second of fall off, certainly going to disadvantage him, and I think the fact that it's only 2 cars who stayed out is going to make this difficult.
What I'm concerned more about is not just the pace in the first 5-10 laps. The run is tire spin. Tire spin is something that can be very big here at Bristol on old tires, especially with these race cars. If you hit the gas too early, you're potentially going to snap hard to the right across the field or hard into the inside wall. So if you're Cook, if you're Weatherman, you need to baby the throttle when you take this green flag, or else there's a chance it can get very hairy.
And we'll see what this race comes to. It is still very early on as the lights go out on top of the pace truck. This restart going to put 31 of 150 laps behind us. And there is no change on the front row, but it is fresh tires and fuel for Logan Seavey in third auto back. They almost all decided to come down and take 4 fresh tires. So let's see how it shakes out. Pace cars get it off and in. The 57 dictates when the race restarts. He'll bring them to a slow roll. Green flag flies. Cook leads to 1, but Kyle Weatherman hounded into turn 1. Here comes the 67 of Seavey up the bottom.
And we got a 4 car on the outside, little contact, Seavey down to the inside, hits the wall, comes back out on the racetrack. LeBay hits the wall. We've got cars spinning all around the 19 involved in it as well. No caution yet.
It is the big one at Bristol, as it is a parking lot, and the caution flag is out. Right off of the restart, we saw the fresh tires, Justin, come into effect. Logan Seavey on the charge, and then unfortunately for him, I think Cole Cabry got a little bit loose, got him in the quarter panel, and admittedly I thought it was a save. Here's the second look at your iRacing replay. Watch this. The car you're looking for is that first all-white car down on the inside. Right there's the contact. He almost came up a little bit, but then as he tried to save it, they all funneled up, and there, the 19 of Derek Krause gets turned by Anthony Alfredo, and when he is in front of the traffic, it is a huge pileup.
Yeah, that got absolutely chaotic, absolutely there. It just looked like once everybody regrouped, they were all just trying to keep an eye on what was going on with Seavey's car, so they all lost focus on their own driving line. And that led, I think, LeBay and everyone else up towards the wall here, but interesting start. Cook and Weatherman, though, it's going to be interesting to see if they can hold on with these older tires still.
Of course, we want you to be a part of this conversation all night long. You can make sure to use the hashtag Saturday Night Thunder on social media, the Twitters, and all of that good stuff, and let us know what you're thinking of the action, who you think's going to end up into victory lane some 115 or so laps from now, thinking that maybe with all of the fresh rubber behind that Cook and Weatherman are kind of stuck it out, Tim, because nobody was going to double up and come back down to the pit lane with only a half a lap, if that, on the tires since we just went back to green flag conditions. So if those two who need the tires were to have pitted now, they probably would have gone all the way back to probably 18th and 19th position, last on the lead lap. So instead, they're kind of forced to swallow the pill that, hey, we're going to be slow up here. They're probably going to be eaten alive by the pack, but if you can survive and float around a top 5 or a top 10 spot, if this thing goes green for a little bit and then catch another cycle, they can blend back in. I think that's them kind of trying to salvage being on the wrong strategy here.
I think you're right. Not optimal if they fall to position number, 10, 12, considering where they're running right now, and they get that next cycle of stops. Maybe we get a caution in 50 or 75 laps time, which would, put us just past lap 100. Everybody comes down onto pit road and everybody's on even keel going forward. But as you mentioned, starting back in 10th place probably isn't optimal, so you're going to have to try to hold what you can up in front. We saw Cabri go really fast here through the first couple laps here. LeBay on those tires. You just saw that sense of urgency going, 2 and 3 wide. Alfredo made his way up through. So you really have to try to manage it too. If you're Blake Cook, you're Kyle Weatherman, this is going to be the real test right now, and try to hold on to the next round of pit stops here, probably in 50-ish laps, I would think, if we get a caution around that point.
We were able to get away with a big incident early because the race control did not throw that caution on the opening lap. That allowed us to get that run in here. But I mean, if you look at it in reality, we've had 2 big wrecks onto both of the starts that we've seen so far tonight. So if I'm mid-pack, I am not very comfortable right now if I'm anywhere besides maybe the top 5 or so. And even then, you just saw with Weatherman and some of those other drivers that being up front didn't necessarily save you. It was quite a bit of a ride for the likes of CV and other drivers who were involved in the last incident. But we'll try it again. Pace truck's going to be down and in. 112 laps to go, still on the board, a long way from home in the Saturday Night Thunder 150. Blake Cook on the inside of the front row. Once again, he gets to control the start of the race. Green flag flies. We're back underway from Bristol.
And another good start once again, but take a look at Chase. More trouble behind him. Awuji got turned.
No caution. Awuji's into the outside wall. 3-4 other cars are involved. Will it be clear, though? By the time the race leaders are on through, it looks like they're rolling. Cook, the leader, challenged now by Chase Cabri, and a caution flag is out. You could see that there were still cars on the apron. It was Jeb Burton who just was not able to get going. So the caution flag comes out just as Chase Cabri was ready to make the move on Blake Cook. And Tim, the filter time 57, lives to see another day at the top of the running order.
Yeah, the caution flag had to be flown. You saw that 19 of Derek Kraus kind of sitting duck in the middle of the straightaway. They had to split him left and right, so the yellow flag flies once again, and Blake Cook will have another opportunity up front to refire and see what happens on those older tires. But Cabri on the outside, going to be tough with those brand new tires and the experience he has here on the iRacing service. This is shaping up to be an interesting battle here once we do go back to green.
And that's the thing, is now Cabri is going to be on the outside of the front row. So that one spot up atop Kyle Weatherman is really going to help him, because unless Blake Cook's able to clear first time off into one, if Cabri can kind of keep the nose to the outside there, Justin, I think the 4 machine's going to be sitting pretty good. So, it is still Cook and Weatherman, old tires, first and third, and then Cabri second, LeBay in fourth, and everybody else on back on the fresh tires from a pit cycle now 2 caution flag runs ago. And again, we're just thinking that you're waiting on this thing to go green and get to the end. And I mentioned earlier, talking with Anthony Alfredo, some of the other drivers, what they thought about this car track combination. And we talk about some of these pros who have iRacing experience and some of them who really do not. Bristol is a difficult, if not one of the most difficult tracks NASCAR-wise on iRacing. if you're an iRacing veteran or not. So you take some of the guys who have just hopped onto the sim here in the last couple of weeks, unable to go racing on the weekends. And it is a huge challenge, and I think that's why that mid-pack to back area is kind of chaotic, and it's not just in this main event. If you were with us for both of those LCQs, you saw the same thing.
Yeah, it's an absolute learning process for a lot of these drivers, even the best of best, because you think about a lot of different things. The cars, you have to get used to how it feels inside the sim. You have to get used to not having the full G's or the potential win potentially as a driver in the race car as you're zipping around the racetrack. There's a lot of different factors that some of these drivers learn as time goes on and get used to when it comes to racing on the sim. A lot of the skills do translate. That's why we're seeing some great drivers still holding on to the top 10, I believe, here. But at the same time, it does take some time to get used to how everything is when it comes to racing on a simulator instead of in real life.
And there's a lot of different ways you can sim race. You can get just a $200-300 wheel like we saw Timmy Hill win with over the weekend. I have the same thing with my sim racing setup, and you can start with just a basic one monitor. You can go for the triple screens. That gives you a little bit more of an immersive feel because you can look to your left and right and look out of the windows and at your mirrors. I run triple screens when I sim race, but I mean, you can get motion rigs. You saw Denny Hamlin. He won the first Pro Invitational race a couple of weeks back at Homestead, up there in the 5-figure range for your sims. You can race in VR. It is a very low barrier of entry if you want to start your sim racing career, but it is a hobby that if you want, you can go way over the top with and have just about as much fun as you want. We're getting set to go back green in this feature race. 45 laps going to be complete. It'll be the third time in a row that Blake Cook's 57 machine is going to bring us back from a green flag, but this time a new challenger to the outside of the front row in the 4-car Chase Cabray. He tries to lead on the 57. Green flag flies. The 4-car is going to keep it out there to 1. Now the 57 clears, but here's Cabray for the crossover.
Cabray takes that look to the inside, trying to take that spot. He won't be able to. LeBay will find his way to third. Weatherman slams the door on Alfredo for position number 4. Your top 3 break away a little bit. We'll see if Weatherman can get up here or if Alfredo can get to the inside. But look at this battle. The 4 looking over that number 57 for the lead. Blake Cook doing a great job, Evan, on these old tires, holding off the rest of the field. But Cabray trying to make something happen here. Pokes that nose back to the inside.
He is peaking at lows down to the inside of the racetrack, and now he's got it there. LeBay fresh tires from third watches on as well, but Blake Cook is doing a really good job of running up front. We've already seen a filter time machine run good at one of these iRacing events. Dale Jr. put his Chevy into second place in that race at Homestead. It eventually became a die cast that Lionel Racing's going to make. It'd be super cool if Blake Cook could win this race and maybe get the same treatment. He's getting filter time, a lot of TV time, and Justin, to be honest, I thought he was going to get swallowed up by these guys off of the restart, but that thing is sporty, and he's actually holding now but a car length advantage over Cabray and then LeBay, second and third, who have those fresh tires.
Yeah, he's actually running quicker than he was before the caution flags in the pit stop cycle in the 15 ones and 15 flats. He's doing a very impressive job, and another caution is out, another big one and down the back.
And it is a couple of cars involved. Chandler Smith, I see, under the yellow, making some additional contact with Joshua Balicki. I don't know if those two got together to kick all of the incident off, but, I mean, they were beating and banging some more. Let's watch the replay. Watching that 46 car on the bumper, the 93 of Snyder, and as they come across the start-finish line and go down into turn number 1, there's the contact as the 46 of Smith gets into him, turns Myatt Snyder around. Most cars were able to get by high or low. Unfortunately, looks like that one additional car into the back was not, and it'll bring out our third caution of the night.
And that 46 of Smith would not turn. That he wouldn't get off of Balicki's car because of that right front suspension damage. And, you know, it's probably going to need a virtual clip. It got hit fairly good on the front end. So it has to take a tow back to pit road, get that thing fixed, and back out onto the racing surface. But another caution flag comes out. And now Blake Cook still out on the racetrack. These drivers haven't come down pit road. So with the cautions breeding cautions, Evan, the 57 of Blake Cook, Kyle Weatherman, the 54, still out there on the tires that they started on, and through 53 laps, you know, not looking too bad as Jeb Burton goes to the outside, gets the free pass.
Yeah, we are already 1/3 of the way through this Saturday Night Thunder 150. Of course, if you're looking for some of those names from the NASCAR Cup Series, you will catch them tomorrow in the big show as the NASCAR iRacing Pro Invitational Series continues for round number 3 right back here at the virtual Bristol Motor Speedway. It all gets kicked off at 1 p.m. Eastern Time on Fox, where available FS1 and the Fox Sports app. That race will also have heat racing. Justin, a little bit different than our format here this evening, as they will get split into 2 heat races, 50 laps apiece. Nobody will be eliminated, though. That'll just be to set the field for a 150-lap main event like you're seeing here tonight. So, unlike what we saw last week in our qualifier, there are no golden tickets available to these drivers to make that big show. So many drivers from every NASCAR racing series you can think of wanted to get involved, and that gave birth to this Saturday Night Thunder division. We'll go racing with everybody else and hopefully put on a show to tie you over till tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah, this has been some very fun so far. A lot of incidents, yes, in the caution flags. But the racing, especially up the front, has been very fun when we've gotten good green flag runs so far. Still intrigued to see what that Ford machine can do to try and get by. LeBay, mind you, is still holding on after having some of that contact with the wall before with one of the caution flags. And don't forget about Kyle Weatherman, who is still holding on to a top 5 on his old tires as well. So there's some impressive runs throughout this entire top 4 with these drivers so far. By the way, remember the fast repair being factored in, potentially, Evan? Ty Majeski's in the top 5.
He was wrecked on the opening lap of this race. There wasn't even a caution flag for the incident. The 45 car is up into position number 5. Happy that you're with us on Race Spot TV, the iRacing Sports Network. Myself, Evan Pasoko, alongside with Tim Terry and Justin Prince as we race through this Saturday Night Thunder 150. Blake Cook has led every single lap thus far, has yet to come down to the pit lane, along with Kyle Weatherman, who stayed out still inside of the top 5, running in 4th position. Pace cars down, though. It is another picture-perfect go for the 57. It is all Blake Cook to 1 as Cabre stays in front of Alex LeBay for 2nd and 3rd.
Picture perfect for the top 3, really. They get single file into the outside line. Ty Majeski falls in behind the 54 of Kyle Weatherman, so your top 5 get single file. The first one really looking is Alex LeBay, and as I say that, we got the 4 car taking a look at the lead position. Blake Cook under fire one more time as Cabre is on the back bumper looking to make something happen.
And I think the 4 car has got the speed to do it. He just has to execute quickly. He looks to the inside. It was a little bit late of a move down into 1, so he's not able to really get alongside him. And he will try to, I think, get back up in line here, because my concern if I'm Chase Cabre, Justin, is that if I go to the bottom and can't make it stick, that Alex LeBay behind me can fill that gap on the outside. Next thing you know, I'm pinned on the bottom. I'm stuck, and I can't do anything with it. So does Cabre risk that by going for the race lead, or does he sit pretty in second? It certainly looks like he's digging, trying to get to the inside.
It really comes down to how close LeBay is. Now LeBay's close enough where if I'm Chase, I move up to the top side as soon as I can. Problem is, LeBay has just filled the hole. That was close.
And there it is. The Audi car's able to get his nose to the outside, and now it's going to be tough for Cabre to get back up there if he wants it. So side by side for second as the Chevrolets run 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. And it is Alex LeBay topside who's going to challenge for P2, and he got it. So we talked about our picks. Alex LeBay was on the list, gentlemen, and Tim, he's up to 2nd position. He looks awfully sporty.
Yeah, I don't think he's done yet. He looks to the inside of Blake Cook, at least that time off of corner number 4. Couldn't get the run. Cabre tries to get back to the 90. 90 a little sideways, cranks that thing to the inside. Can't get that run off of corner number 2, but will set his sights one more time to the inside. This one looks good to the inside of Blake Cook. He goes. Alex LeBay trying to make a pass for the lead here on lap number 65. Cook on older tires. The 90 of Alex LeBay trying to make it happen. And here comes Cabre on the outside. What a 3-car battle for the top spot.
It's a role reversal now. When Cabre went to the bottom, it was LeBay who went to the outside. Now you flip it. Looks LeBay is trying to make a pass for the race lead, and Nicole Cabre took his spot away from him up on the outside. Caution flag, though, as it just looked like LeBay had been getting some traction. Somebody's wrecked maybe on the back straightaway.
And that is huge. LeBay was the fastest car out of that top 3, it looked like here. But this is what happened right here. Huffman, we've seen how quick he's been. He's in the mix of this traffic of cars and then has to check up because the car was spinning and he gets collected. Warrington Brown also gets collected as well in the checkup process.
It was Myatt Snyder who was turned around. You could see his tax slayer machine. He got turned by Ruben Garcia. There was no yellow, though, because the 93 machine was spinning on what is an admittedly very small apron, but still an apron nonetheless. And Landon Huffman saw that happening. He checked up, then got tagged from behind by Brandon Brown, who maybe got pushed into him a little bit by Will Rogers. And a chain reaction incident will slow us down, put us under the caution flag once more. And it'll be the first time tonight Blake Koch is down for service. He will give away the race lead. We see drivers, though, who pitted last time that stay out. LeBay, Cabré, they stay out to go 1-2, but it is a mixed bag. The likes of Alfredo, Gralla, Haley, more top 10 cars down pit road.
Yeah, I think this is more of a split decision than that first round of pit stops. You got Weatherman down, but you have the 33 of Alfredo. You got Kaz Gralla. You got Haley, Allgaier among those that are down on pit road. A few others at the back. Garcia, the 53, as well, and Joey Gase down on pit road. So it seems like it's about split with those drivers coming down pit road. Some of them staying out on the racetrack, but it will hand the lead over to the 90 of LeBay. Got a couple of more lap cars coming down into pit road this time by. And we mentioned the quick tow or the fast repair, but there's still some battle scars in some of these race cars. You take a look at Ty Majeski's car that you see running around in position number 3. It's got a couple of short track battle scars after the first half of this race, closing in on lap number 75. So it's starting to show. Bristol's starting to show its marks right now in some of these race cars.
It is, and of course we talk about, in some of the heat races, we've seen the hoods flipped up on some of these. I remember some drivers have had the rear bumpers hanging off, and that is because this ARCA Menards Series styled cars on iRacing are the first oval cars to get the new damage model, which you'll see more body parts, sheet metal, and, fiberglass, whatever it is, depending on what car we're racing, hanging off and falling off of the cars. You could brake more, it'll be more visible, and of course, as that continues to get worked through, kind of being used in these machines before any others, that'll eventually probably get to the rest of the cars on the service in the future. But kind of cool to see how these things get torn up. And at Bristol Motor Speedway, Justin, I don't think we necessarily need the new damage model to tell when cars are getting beat up, because this is a racetrack that'll wear and tear on your equipment.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we've seen, a lot of the main things when it comes to the damage model, a lot of the great things is the physics, but as well, how much of a beating the car can take. These drivers, if they hit the wall too hard, if they hit a car too hard, that has been something that's absolutely affected many of these competitors tonight. Already a decent portion have had to use a fast repair at one point in this event. So it's kind of forcing drivers to be more balanced with the regression compared to in past, and I think it's a positive thing from what we're seeing tonight.
And this restart going to come just shy of halfway home with Alex LeBay, new race leader, takes it over as Blake Koch pitted from the race lead. So LeBay and Cabré going to go side by side. Green flag flies. 71 laps down at Bristol. The Donnie car leads. Hill now slice high. The 04 grows to cross to the inside. Cabré wants to challenge for the race lead.
Up in front, Alex LeBay trying to hold off Cabré for the lead. We saw Blake Koch start in position number 7, already down to the inside, looking 3 wide as he's trying to pick up positions in the middle of the pack. And we got another big wreck at turn number 2.
Couple of cars spinning. It's way behind the race leaders so far. No yellow. Brandon Brown involved. Jeb Burton involved. Leaders coming on the scene. They are not yet clear. There is the caution flag. Again, we could let them race if that racetrack clears itself. But the problem is here at Bristol is there's really nowhere for those cars to escape, Justin. So if they wreck, they're in the middle of it all. But we slow them down again now, right at the cross flag. 75 down, 75 to go. Here's the second look.
And you see the cars already down the bottom side. The reason these cars went all the way to the bottom of the racetrack here, though, Evan, was Ruben Garcia got very loose on cold tires on corner entry. In turn, the drivers started wrecking on the outside wall, and drivers like Jeb Burton just had nowhere to go, along with Brandon Brown. And he had to throw the caution flag, though, because Brown was stuck on the top of the racetrack struggling to get the car fired up.
You can see how far behind he was actually where it all started, but of course he ends up going around. And he mentioned you might be burning some of those quick repairs. Ruben Garcia, one of our top cars from the qualifier last Sunday, his night is done. He has gone behind the wall. I think Harrison Burton's night done as well. Balicki, Brown, Smith, Awuji, all those drivers multiple laps down after being involved in incidents that are just trying to get those cars patched back together, stay in this race, and just kind of fight for it. Hope that if other drivers have issues, you can get a lap back here or there and try to work your way back into this thing. But that 90 car's looked awfully stout up front. We've seen Cabrera and second Tim kind of take that peak at a turn 2 on every restart. But I think if LeBay could weather that initial storm and get all the way clear, he could have a good opportunity at leading a lot of laps here.
Looking forward to the second half of this race, I think if Kyle Weatherman and Blake Cook can get their track position back, I think they're going to have something to say for at least maybe a podium finish here in this event this evening. But you saw on that restart, I believe it might have been Stuart Friesen. Justin brought up the point a little bit earlier about cold tires, spinning the tires and trying to get going on the restarts. Stuart a little bit slower on the draw than everybody else, and it kind of stacked those guys up a little bit on the outside. And at the end of the day, Blake Cook, who restarted in position number 7, was 3 wide fighting for his life on the inside, lost a couple of positions, went back to position number 9 on that exchange. So we'll now see the filter time 57 roll from position number 9, still on the inside line. Still going to have some work to do, but we'll see how that all transpires and comes through as Stuart Friesen will restart now on the inside in position number 5. Interesting second half, some of those storylines getting ready to boil over, but Alex Labbe, rolling where he was last week in the qualifier up in P1, but he made a last lap pass last week to make it happen, Evan. So he's up here a little bit earlier than we expected compared to last week, I guess.
And now that we're halfway through this one, the race leaders have effectively pitted once. A couple of drivers have done it twice, but with a bit of a mixed bag. Johnson at all the yellows. I would not be shocked if these drivers try to hold this one out, because I don't know if you can afford getting back in the mess and getting back up here as this restart's going to be coming up soon.
And that's why so many drivers had the split decision, a few yellow flag situations before, because if you go in the back of the pack about 8th on back even, there's a chance you might not be able to get up there in time based on how this race has been flowing so far. So you're prioritizing at this point, Evan, track position if you're a driver or a crew chief, more so than the tires, and hoping that it gets to a point where you're able to keep that positioning and then get the tires once everyone's forced to come down.
Well, let's see how this one plays out. Pace car going to be down at a restart with 71 laps still to go. Alex Labbe has been good so far. It's going to be his first turn once again out in front. Green flag flies. The 90 car the advantage. He'll slide up atop the 4. Cabrera goes to second. There's a look to the inside as expected, but he can't make it happen. Now he'll dive way to the inside in turn 3.
Cabrera trying to take that inside line. Not going to happen that time off of corner number 4. Alex Labbe continues to lead this thing. Top 2 have broken away a little bit. Ty Majeski establishes himself to position number 3. Logan Seavey back up in the top 5, as is Myatt Snyder. And then it starts to get a little bit racy from about 8th on back. But these top 6, top 7, after a couple of cautions, trying to get single file and maybe get a little bit closer to that lap 100, 125, and eventually get to lap 150 as Cabrera continues to look at that 90.
And that side by side a little bit further back that you mentioned is the 57 machine of Blake Cook trying to get through traffic, but Stuart Friesen just got loose. There he is on the bottom. He's going to hold him up. Let's go 3 wide at Bristol. Down the back straightaway. Cook is trying to get through traffic. Friesen now pinned down low. They'll double file it out as Blake Cook finds a spot in line. But a close call there. Just goes to show you one small bobble, you could have issues. And now Kyle Weatherman's into the outside wall. They're going to scatter as the 54 car slow. He's into the wall now.
And Cascarava's got a problem. He can't see.
Oh, he's going to get turned. Big mess into turn 1. And the 57 of Blake Cook is involved in this one. A caution flag flies. And one of the fastest cars all night is torn up after a big incident Justin mentioned it there, the 29 machine, Tim, Kaz Grala got into the outside wall. This is separate from all of the chaos that we had seen before, but I just don't think Blake Cook could do. They were 3 wide, and he came all the way up on the 19 at Derek Kraus. He got turned and got hooked into the outside wall, and one of the fastest cars of the night is now torn up.
That would be the disadvantage of coming down pit road with a couple of drivers staying out on the racetrack and having to fight your way through traffic. Yes, you have that advantage on tires. You might be able to get up there and try to make it work, but that happens and you get involved in traffic and the caution flag comes out. And speaking of pit stops, it looks like Alex Labay may be leading this field. Maybe not. Alex Labay's coming down. Everybody else is staying out.
The next driver to pit would be Joey Gase in 9th position. So Jeb Burton 10th going to follow in. Weatherman involved as well, who's going to come down to the pit lane. But well, about a third of the cars on the lead lap. 4 or 5 of them total actually going to come down to the pit lane. And I was kind of curious, Justin, because I kind of alluded to you before that last restart. If you try to stay out and stick it out to the end, I mean, if Alex Labay comes in at all like he is now, this has to be his final trip because, again, not only do you have to make passes on race cars, but you got to deal with traffic. And honestly, even with that 25 or so lap green flag run to open it up, I'm not sure we're seeing enough tire wear that would validate any pit stops for at least the 90 team after this.
Yeah, this is a massive gamble here and probably going to be something where he's hoping that if this turns into a long run, 15, 20 plus laps at least, that's where some of the advantage comes in, and he might stay out in that situation. The old tires have actually held up very, very well if you are the control car off the restart, it seems, tonight. So that's the gamble I think he's trying to play at this point, since a lot of other drivers are on mixed tire strategies at this point. It's the matter, though, at the same time, Evan, of you need to make sure you don't get in any trouble if you're in the pack here.
That's the key. And a lot of the time, you know, I'm not very comfortable up on the outside because if something happens, you've got literally nowhere to go. But to be honest, Tim, you could be on the bottom, which gives you a little bit of an escape route. But I mean, when you're back at the back, you're more so, I think, at the at the discretion, and your fate is more so in the hands of the cars around you than really in your own. You can back off and not force the issue and take it easy, but if they junk them all in front, there's not a lot of places to go. And like in the case of Blake Cook there as well, if you're back in traffic, it can get ugly.
Right now you got 14 cars being scored on the lead lap. You've got about 60 laps to go or so. It's going to get tougher from here. These drivers, as we've seen already, trying to make those moves, maybe throw it into a position that you might not think of doing so in the first 75 laps of the race. You might start taking a little more than you would necessarily give. We'll see. Alex Labay's got a really quick race car, but we just saw with Blake Cook and Kyle Weatherman, they had quick race cars as well, and they got stuck in the middle of that pack. But with that fast repair, they're back out on that outside line. So we're going to see some drivers come from the back of the field here. Evan, strap in. You ain't seen nothing yet with 60 laps to go.
60 laps left to go on the board. A side-by-side battle with some of the iRacing veterans in Chase Cabré. And for the first time, Ty Majeski up to second position. Green flag flies. We're underway. And the 4 cars going to get a great jump down to 1 and 2. He's clear by 3-4 car lengths. Majeski trying to block for second. He will. The fight behind going to be Seavey on the inside. Myatt Snyder up top as Allgaier catches the fence.
And where did Myatt Snyder come from all of a sudden here? He's got that preferred top line, but more trouble in the front stretch.
So far, we're good. Race leader's going to continue. It's Jeb Burton again up against the outside wall, and the track is not clear. More cars. Burton, Awuji. Looks like those are the 2 cars that get tangled up. So we slow it down again, and no doubt we will get a second look at the replay here in just a moment. But looked like it was actually Alex Labay. Tim, watch the 90. He got sideways in traffic. It checked up Jeb Burton, who got turned by the 75 car of Huffman.
Yeah, I don't think Huffman really anticipated the 8 car to slow down that much, anticipating what was going on in front of him. And Jeb Burton, wrong place, wrong time. And there's been a couple of times this evening where he's been involved in incidents that haven't really been his fault. So again, that's really how short track racing goes. Come down pit road, maybe get that thing pulled out if you don't have any fast repairs left, and go back out in the racetrack and see what you can salvage for the end of this race as we close in on that 50 lap to go mark, that 2/3 distance in this Saturday Night Thunder feature. But Again, where did Myatt Snyder come from? Justin Prince already mentioned it, currently up in the top 5 and looking to make something happen here in the late stages, albeit it's got a little bit of damage to the front of that 93 car, but so far so good. That thing still turns and the thing looks quick.
And the point that I was going to make under that last yellow, ran out of time, but they're so gracious to slow down again so I could get my point adjusted, is we were kind of talking during those heat races and the LCQs for the drivers that were in transfer positions. Yes, you're in, but how much did you really want to fight for another spot? Because that, of course, would affect your starting position in this main event, and kind of stressing track position. And, I think it's been a big factor of the top 12 cars in this race. I think 7 of them started in the top 12. So that, is a good stat that would indicate that if you started up front, you're going to be in a good spot. But how about Ty Majeski? Literally wrecked on the first lap of this race, did not get a caution flag, used a quick repair. He's up to second. You just mentioned Myatt Snyder, who's been running through the field. Snyder started 23rd out of 24 cars, and he's in P3 right now. So it's not to say that, well, yes, track position is important. Clearly, it's not the end-all, be-all.
Yeah, you also have to make sure, if you don't have track position, you don't get involved in any of the incidents. You have good wreck evasion and racecraft. Keyword, racecraft. To be able to make some of the passes too cleanly to get yourself through the field. And that's what a lot of these drivers have done. They've also been able to roll the dice strategy-wise. I wouldn't be surprised if some of these drivers don't come down one more time, honestly, with the way this race has gone for tires, the way this is flowing, and they keep their positions that way. So it's just worked out for a lot of these competitors where strategy, wreck avoidance, and the pace has just worked out to their favor to stay up towards the front now.
And it seems like, a long time ago, once upon a time, Tim, that we saw the opening 30 laps of this race go green, and that's because even though there was a wreck, track was clear, so we could keep the caution flag in the back pocket, that this race was wide open, but it seems now that it is going to get down to the nitty-gritty as the lights are back out on top of the pace truck.
Yeah, you really got to grind your way into that lap 150 mark and stay up there, do what you have to keep your track position up there. Mentioned off that last restart, and I'll mention it again, you might take a little more now than you're going to give in these next 50 laps of competition, because everybody wants to take a checkered flag on a short track Saturday night, right?
Definitely in front of everybody tuning in and against some of the best that NASCAR has to offer in some of its development series. Everybody here wants to, of course, drive a cup car one day. The pace car is off and in. Chase Cabrera on the gas. He gets a really good race start, and Ty Majeski caught sleeping. Here comes Snyder up the inside. He'll go for the slide job across the nose. Oh, and Majeski's into the wall. Hard hit for the 45. He hangs on.
What a great save by Majeski to keep that car straight. Now I'm worried, though, how that car is going to be handling with that significant hit. Everybody's trying to take advantage of this. It seems, though, Majeski may have kept some speed in it after that contact.
It was good enough to hold off Logan Seavey. The 67 car peeked to the inside, but wasn't able to make the move. That was a hard slap to the wall, and in fact, Majeski's going to keep on going, so much so that he wants to fight for second. The battle rages on behind, but Ty Majeski looking to the inside of Myatt Snyder, trying to take P2 right back from him, and Tim curious if he'll put the bumper to him, because Myatt cut that awfully close, coming across his nose at a turn 2 that loosened him up to begin with.
And he goes to the inside to allow Majeski to get to the outside, side by side for position number 2. Almost a little contact there as they went down the straightaway. But if you're Ty Majeski, you have what you have right now. Even if you do have a little more damage on that right-hand side, you've got what you have. Dig deep. But now he's going to dig a little bit deeper. Cabrera has been really strong all night long. Now a second back to Ty Majeski. We'll see what he has if we get some green flag laps here. And knock on wood, looking so far so good through 103.
Inside of the final 50, not clear though up at the front as we are back in the pack. The likes of Logan Seavey under fire from Justin Allgaier. This 7 car has looked awfully good in this race, but he's stuck behind Myatt Snyder now. Nowhere to go around the 93 machine. So Seavey is going to drop to the bottom, make that pass for third, and Allgaier will do the same thing. Myatt Snyder is working with a good bit of damage on that car, so maybe just kind of cycled up to these top spots by pit strategy. But obviously I think a little bit off of the pace, Justin, compared to the rest of these cars top 10 right now.
It looks like that left front toe might be knocked out, but that's checking everyone out. More trouble behind them.
Oh, it's a big spin. Is it going to cause a caution? Alfredo's involved in it. Chandler Smith goes around, and there is a caution at lap 106. And we just talked about some of the sporty cars. Well, Anthony Alfredo in the 33 machine made contact with the 11 car in front of him. Take a look on the replay here. They're going to go off and into the corner. The 57 dives low, and I think Alfredo just contact. Hard to tell, Tim, if it was the 33 coming up the hill or Blake Cook going down the banking, but either way, not Blake Cook, sorry, the 10 adjusted Haley who came down, but they made contact, and then Blake Cook did get a piece of damage. That 57 car, not a huge part of the wreck, but the second time tonight he's been in an incident.
We've mentioned already this evening anticipation. Stuart Friesen got into the back bumper of that number 33, and there's another look through Chandler Smith's car, the JBL Audio number 46, as he gets it righted again. These drivers trying to anticipate what's going to happen in front of them. They were all trying to get by Myatt Snyder, and they all checked up, and that's what happens. Brings out the caution flag here with less than 50 laps to go in this race, and it looks like your leader staying out on the racetrack, at least your front few. I'm interested to see Ty Majeski, see what he can do on this restart with Cabré, because he was into the wall a little bit earlier. You look at those two race cars up there, Evan. You look at that 4, it looks pretty pristine up in front. The 45's got damage, I think, on 3 of the 4 corners, but it's a short track race. He's still digging and doing a fine job up there in position number 2.
I'm amazed that Chase was able to get through traffic and keep that race car how it's looking. But a big, direct has come down from the tower, Justin. The next restart will be a single file restart. That directive coming down from race control. So that gives a huge advantage, not only to Cabré, who I think would have been able to maintain the race lead, but to Majeski, who probably would have had to deal with Seavey. And, Seavey, who would have had to deal with Allgaier. Single file is really going to change the complexion of the next restart.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And the reason drivers sometimes go around to this point, or series such as this, is it ends up in turn leading to cleaner restarts. The problem's going to be now trying to be able to set things up to get passes. Everybody's now going to be able to restart up on the top side, and this is going to make it intriguing to see what Chase Cabré does. If he tries to dive in the corner and get it launched off the banking, or if he tries to go right up against the wall, try and stack up the field. There's a couple different ways he can now take this.
He does have options, and again, in iRacing, restart procedures is there is no restart box, and I've alluded to it a few times tonight, Tim, saying that it's at the discretion of the leader. So when the pace truck dives down, once that truck is clear of the racing surface, Chase has from when that moment happens until they actually hit the end of the restart box on the racetrack, the green flag flies to start the race. Single file makes it even easier, but of course, anyways, nobody can pass your control car on a restart, so he's kind of got a Pandora's box of options here.
And we'll see what happens with Ty Majeski on the outside, or on the back end, I should say, as we mentioned, single file restarts. Now it's an anticipation from Ty Majeski. When does that 4 car go, and how long does he have that, or wait before the pace truck pulls off, the green flag comes out? Ty Majeski right now in position number 2, and even if we do have a couple of more restarts, Evan, he might learn something here for those restarts upcoming. Logan Seavey and the rest of the field trying to maybe figure out what that 4 car is going to do strategy-wise on these restarts.
This one's going to come with 39 laps to go. You'll see they'll get right up against the wall and rim ride, but the 4 car gets going. A little bit of tire spin, but Cabré is good. Off into turn 1. We're back green at 39 laps to go. Majeski stays second. Seavey in third. The single file give a lot of space, but Snyder's into the outside wall down the back.
And that might be some of that suspension damage for the 93 that really is causing him to struggle like this. You see that left front toe currently knocked on forward and out of the fender. He is a couple tenths off the pace, it looks like. He's struggling to apex off.
And he gets passed by the 29 machine. So up in front of him is Kaz Gralla. There's the 90 of Alex Labay. One of the best cars all night. Opted to pit in the second half of this race. Gave up a ton of track position. He's up to 7th with a long way to go still. Weatherman going to be the next driver to fight with Myatt Snyder behind. But Alex Labay searching for a pass on the 29.
LeBay trying to make that move on Kaz Gralla to pick up one more spot in behind him. Weatherman picks up position number 8 and gets a little bit closer towards the front of the field. LeBay trying that inside line on Gralla. The 11 of Justin Haley right ahead of them. So make it a battle for 5th as they continue to fight around here on lap 116.
He's finally got the inside positioning. LeBay got fresh tires again, Justin, the last time down pit road. That's probably the only reason why he's making the inside look so easy. He's got it. LeBay gets around Gralla, who tried to force the nose back up there after I thought the battle was done with. LeBay does win out, and next on deck would be Justin Haley, a top 5 spot.
And you can just see how much those fresher tires are giving him a launch off the corners and be able to diamond and ride the bottom line much better than what we've seen from anybody throughout this night tonight. One thing that's also helping, the track temperature has dropped from the start by about 10 degrees Fahrenheit. The grip levels have gone up, especially with the amount of rubber on this racetrack. LeBay is using that to his advantage to run away from 6th on back.
He is. He's trying to get some separation, and that's exactly what Alex LeBay wanted. Behind him, Gralla going to get to the inside of Haley. This fight for 6th on the racetrack, but it looks like it's going to be the 54 of Weatherman filling that vacancy up behind the 11 on the outside to take the spot away. And I think Gralla may just have to settle for P8 by the time this exchange is done with. Last time by, race leader Chase Cabrera ran a 15.188 second lap time. That was slower than the 15.099 by Alex LeBay, but he is 2.1 seconds behind the race lead in 5th position, running out of time, Tim Terry, to close the gap.
When does the good give up on those new tires, and how much grief does the traffic give Alex LeBay as he goes through? If this thing stays green, the 7 of Justin Allgaier next up on the list as he tries to mount a charge for position number 4. Alex LeBay takes a look to the inside, nothing doing there, tucks back in behind the 7.
Allgaier has been kind of the epitome of consistency tonight, dealing with traffic, but keeping that race car in one piece and out of trouble. Here's LeBay down to the bottom. The fight is for 4th, and they almost got into each other at a 2 as LeBay pushed up a little bit on exit. That's going to cost him some time. Justin had to lift. He'll reset now from a car length back.
And this is going to be a little bit frustrating knowing you're a quicker race car. If you are in the cockpit, you're just trying to wait for the right moment. It can take multiple laps to set up passes. The thing is, LeBay, again, good off the exits. Just Allgaier is not giving him any brakes, despite the fact the 90 is quicker on Apex.
Oh, and he's going to door him there. Alex LeBay, the shunt and run. He got up and into the door of Justin Allgaier. I don't think it was on purpose, but he squeezed him a little bit, sent the 7 into the fence, and that is one way to make the move as Alex LeBay now takes 4th position. But despite the fact that before that battle, Tim, he'd been faster than the leaders, that really slowed him down. He lost time to the top couple, so he needs to make up now. 2.1 seconds still. Next time by, only going to have 22 laps more to do it.
Yeah, he lost a little bit of ground, but he's got a little bit of time to make it happen. We'll see what Alex LeBay can do. Next up would be Logan Seavey, and actually it's this battle on your screen. Be the battle for position number 2. Seavey drives it down to the inside. Little contact there, up the hill goes Ty Majeski off the pace. LeBay moves by.
Ty Majeski into the outside wall. Now Allgaier going to try to challenge with him after Seavey was not clear and put the 45 machine into the fence at a turn number 2. So that's a free spot to Alex LeBay, the 90, who we still follow. He now assumes 3rd on track, and Logan Seavey not that far up the road from the 90 machine, Justin, because Chase Cabrera is pulled away in front. The 4 car leads this race by 1.2 seconds. So LeBay may be at best fighting with Seavey for 2nd.
Yeah, he's going to need some luck here with how Chase Cabrera is handling that race car right now, looking comfortable. He's got a big enough cushion to potentially hold on. The thing is, though, if you are Chase, you need this to stay green and clean on the racetrack. If you're LeBay, you need to close about a couple tenths a second each lap. Only 17 laps to go this upcoming time by. Not a lot of time to do it.
And with the onboard shot with LeBay, that all-white car in front of is Logan Seavey. That's the car in second position. Seavey's kind of picked up the speed just a little bit here, so it's not like LeBay is walking all over him. You can also see on these onboard shots that further up the road, yes, that is race leader Chase Cabre with that yellow spoiler. So that's a look from third up to second, up to first. And with a lot of cars wrecked out of this race, Tim, not a ton of traffic to deal with, unlike what we saw earlier on tonight.
The question is, how much does Cabre have in reserve to try to really step it up in those final 10 laps or so if we get there under the green flag? LeBay needs about a tenth a lap, and he's getting it right now. He's under a second between himself and the leader. But yes, he has Logan Seavey there as well. Seavey trying to close the gap in on your leader. We're going to have a three-way dance for this lead before it's all said and done. We saw a little bit earlier, though, with Alex LeBay. It might not have been by choice, but you got to do what you got to do to win at a short track, especially here at Bristol. Could we see a little bit of the chrome horn and maybe a little hip check come out? Battle for the lead.
Seavey's going to go to the inside of Cabre. He'll slide job up into Cabre. Looks to the inside to cross him over. He's got a nose. But up top, Logan Seavey. He'll put the hammer down at a 4. New race leader at 12 laps to go. And for the first time tonight, it is Logan Seavey in control. It looked like Chase Cabre was on cruise control, but he came way back, lost a lot of pace in the last 10 laps. And as Seavey tries to run away with this one, LeBay needs to pass Cabre for second if he wants a seat at the table.
And remember that earlier discussion we had, if you try and go fast on the short run, Chase was one of those drivers who pushed a lot, and now we're seeing the results. If you push too hard, his tires have fallen off a cliff. 2/10 slower than Logan Seavey at this point. And still, you have LeBay that's charging too. If you're LeBay, you need to get by quickly, and you might have one last shot to get by Seavey.
Time is ticking, though. Inside of 10 laps to go for the virtual Bristol Motor Speedway here for Saturday Night Thunder. Seavey running away. LeBay on the fresh tires. Can't get up to the 4 like he would like to. And that number 67 on top is trying to run away with this one, Tim. We mentioned off at the top, though, if necessary, up to 3 attempts at a green-white checkered finish. So Logan Seavey is going to be sweating, not until he gets to the white flag.
And he is pulling away from this battle for position number 2. Alex LeBay, once he got to the back bumper of Cabre, he hasn't been able to make any moves, any inroads on this battle for position number 2. It's been about 2 car lengths or so between your second and third place drivers, and Logan Seavey inching away, driving away with Saturday Night Thunder as they come down this time with 6 to go.
Lap traffic in front. There is some side-by-side about a half a straightaway ahead should they catch them. Cabre still only 5/10 off of the 67, so Logan Seavey doesn't have much of a buffer if he were to make a mistake, because not only Cabre but LeBay as well there in third would be right there to fight to pick up the pieces. But Logan Seavey, who started this race in 4th position, finished second in his heat race to qualify into the main show, is now 4 laps away from a checkered flag.
All he needs to do here, Evan, is get through the traffic cleanly. He's got 3-4 lap cars in front of him, and then it's clean sailing. As long as the traffic moves to the bottom of the racetrack, I think this is Logan's race to lose as long as this stays green.
And that's what he wants, is this to stay green. He doesn't want any problems. Popsicle Stick's going to be in the air the next time by as he rockets down the back straightaway, Tim. The advantage to Cabre now growing to 7/10 of a second.
And that battle for second intensifying a little bit, but the 90 of Alex LeBay's lost a little bit of ground on position number 2. It's all Logan Seavey up in front as he'll come by this next time and take that white flag, getting closer to a win on Saturday Night Thunder.
Second to last time at a 4. White flag presented by iRacing. He's got to get to the inside of traffic. Navigates around Gralla. Logan Seavey for the final time from Bristol Motor Speedway. He'll go into 3 and 4, clear the rest, and Saturday Night Thunder belongs to Logan Seavey.
What a drive for Logan Seavey in this one. He showed some great pace, kept inside the front of the field much of the day today. And in the end, he comes away winning Saturday Night Thunder. What a great performance from the Dirt and ARCA Menards Series driver.
They were wrecking across the start-finish line as Chase Cabray came up on traffic. None of that was for position. He maintained second. Let's take a look at your iRacing full race results from the Saturday Night Thunder 150. It is CV winning over Cabray and LeBay second and third. Anthony Alfredo, great bounce back for a fourth-place finish. Kyle Weatherman finishes in fifth with Ty Majeski, Justin Allgaier, Blake Cook, Joey Gase, and Jeb Burton finishing inside of your top 10. A lot of fast cars finished there, Tim, but also some drivers who had to deal with a lot tonight.
Yeah, we had some drivers that really were digging at the end. Justin Haley finished one lap down. Stuart Friesen finished 2 laps down. Landon Huffman had a tough start to the race, 2 laps down. Maya Snyder, Jesse Awuji, Will Rogers, Kaz Grala, Brandon Brown. A lot of these drivers at the back, Chandler Smith, Josh Balicki, Justin, either ended up out of the race or were still struggling to keep on the racetrack at the end of it.
Yeah, Ryan Truex finished this race early on. Derek Kraus finishing 22nd. Roman Garcia, Harrison Burden rounding out the drivers in the field tonight, Evan.
That's a look top to bottom at your iRacing full race results. And what an opening week for Saturday Night Thunder. So many drivers wanted to get involved in some of the action on the weekend here that we had to expand past the qualifier race that we had seen. We had drivers from the likes of the Xfinity Series, the Gander RV and Outdoors Truck Series, down through the ARCA Menards and the Pinties, NASCAR Peak Mexico, Whelen Euro Series, and more. All competed with us. We raced through heat races, whittled it down to a 24-car main event, and in the end, it is Logan Seavey who heads to victory lane here tonight from Bristol Motor Speedway. Tim, I think a fantastic event to get these ARCA Menards Series cars out on track at Bristol. A great teaser for tomorrow's big show.
Yeah, some great short track racing that we saw here this evening, and it really sets the table for tomorrow's Pro Invitational iRacing Series on Fox. And Logan Seavey putting on a great run at the end. Alex LeBay charged hard, but just ran out of tires and used up everything that he had to try to get up onto the podium and catch that number 4 of Cabray. What a run at the end. Some green flag racing. We saw some tempers flaring, some fenders flying, and at the end of the day, it's all short track racing at Bristol, and the big boys are going to do it all over again tomorrow on Fox.
They will, and you're not going to want to miss that one at 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time on Fox FS1 and the Fox app. But right now, we are going to try to catch up with tonight's race winner from Bristol Motor Speedway. Let's see if we can dial up the driver of the 67 machine. Logan, you got a copy?
I got you.
Well, hey, congratulations on the win. You started off strong, advancing right in through your heat race, but just tell us about this main event. 150 laps against some of the biggest names, not only in kind of short track racing across the country, but definitely here on the surface. And at the end of the day, you parked the 67 in victory lane. Congrats.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a long race. I think we all kind of knew that was coming. You know, I think we all were prepared for a lot of cautions early, and I kind of put myself in a good spot, and my team put me in a good spot. We were in third on fresh tires, and I thought we were going to come out with the lead and ended up crashing. I thought that was going to be the end of our day, but we were able to switch strategies around and kind of ride around on the back most of the day, and really just save tires and pit as much as we could. And like I said, the last 50 or 60 laps, I knew we weren't coming in, so I just saved until the last 20 or 30, and I knew I had enough to run down Chase and tie there, so I just went hard when I needed to push. And like I said, I got a lot of spotters and crew chiefs in this race that were making the calls and spotting and telling me the pace I needed to run. So I just can't thank Chase Briscoe and Chris Wheeler and Chase Rodman enough for helping me out there.
Of course, it ends up well because you're in a victory lane. Just tell us what it was like competing in this kind of event. Obviously, familiar names all in it around you, guys that you're very familiar with, and to be able to come out and put on a show in a stock car at Bristol in front of a lot of NASCAR fans must have been fun.
Yeah, I didn't even know I was going to run this race until one of the day or two ago, and Austin Craven and Team Dillon got me kind of hooked up and got me connected with some people with iRacing, and I was able to get into this race. I've started a couple NASCAR races, and I've raced against most of the field, I'd say, regardless if it was super late models or ARCA or trucks or whatever. But to come on here and like I said, it's kind of a last minute deal. Only got a couple laps of practice really compared to some of these guys, and to be able to beat Ty and Chase and some of these guys that are really good on this game is it's pretty cool and pretty fun. Just gotta thank NASCAR and everybody who put this on.
One of my favorite things about this event is to see drivers like yourself and other drivers from all throughout the ranks of racing compete and to get an opportunity to go at some of the best of the best. So for those who tuning in tonight who may not be that familiar with you, just tell everybody what you're up to and where they can keep up with you for the racing season.
Yeah, definitely this year, we're full-time USAC National Sprint cars and basically the whole USAC National Midget Series also. So, all my socials are just Logan_CV. As soon as we do get back racing, we'll be really busy traveling the whole country doing that deal. And still looking for some stock car stuff to get back into the stock car side of things. But for now, just focused on like I said, the dirt stuff. That's my main job right now. That's my main goal. So just working as hard as I can on that. And I think we're all kind of waiting on the same thing, just waiting to go back racing. And luckily enough, we have, iRacing to fill some time and, fill that racing void that I think pretty much all of us are having right now.
I think tonight's a good indication you can still wheel a stock car, so hopefully you get an opportunity, Logan, soon. But good luck for the rest of your racing season, as you mentioned, when we do finally get to it. But as well, thanks for hanging out with us on a Saturday night. Congratulations on the win, and hopefully we'll catch up with you soon.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
The race winner tonight for the Bristol Motor Speedway, Logan CV, checkered flag, and the winner of the Saturday Night Thunder 150. We'll kind of continue down the running order. Chase Cabray came home in second position in this one, and Tim, you're standing by with the driver, the 04.
See if we can catch up with Chase Cabray finishing in position number 2. Chase, end of the race, lots of green flag racing. What else did you need inside that race car to try to keep ahead of Logan CV?
I think some tires. I stayed out. When Alex pitted, I think it was about 110 to go. Maybe I'm way off on my math, but I know I faked Alex in at one point. Me and Ty both stayed out, and I think in the end it hurt us. I was so nervous to get behind the 8 ball and get behind cars that it was so hard to pass, and I didn't know how long the green flag runs were going to be. So if we would have kept those cautions going, I would have been able, I think, to keep it out front. But just having so many laps on the tires, all the heat build up, it just kind of really screwed me in the end.
You've been on this iRacing service for a while. This race car, this ARCA Menards race car, just got a new damage model, but compared to the rest of your counterparts on the racetrack, your car looked fairly clean. How cool is it to drive this race car here on the stage on a Saturday Night Thunder show?
It's really cool. I'm really appreciative of everything that iRacing is doing right now for across the board. World of Outlaw, the NASCAR stuff, the IndyCar stuff. It's really cool to see iRacing step up and give the fans something to watch during this break that we have from real racing. So it was really cool to be able to be a part of the Saturday Night Thunder, and I can't wait to do it again next week.
All kinds of different racing backgrounds, all kinds of different disciplines represented in this race. When we do go back real racing, where are we going to see you turning a wheel?
We're running the full ARCA Menards Series East, as well as ARCA Menards Showdown Series, and as well as some dirt races. So, just got to get ready to go back. Can't wait to get back in the real car, and this is keeping me busy for now.
And keeping busy up in front, Chase Cabray. Congratulations on a second place finish.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
And I believe our third place finisher is caught up with Justin Prince, the former NASCAR Pinty Series champion, Alex LeBay.
Yes, indeed, catching up with Alex LeBay, and he was one of the drivers who elected to try and pit for tires. Came down a second time at around the 60 to go-ish mark. Alex, you charged through the field quickly, nearly caught up to the race leaders. How did you feel the strategy worked out overall as you went from 7th to about 3rd in the span of that last stint?
Yeah, we fought hard there at the end as to go back through the pack, but I know we kind of thought with it's 60, 70 to go that other lead lap cars like the other leaders would have come with us, but we were all by ourselves, so we went back in the pack, got involved in a wreck, so came back on pit road again, put tires with like 40, 45 to go, and charged hard. I mean, we knew we had speed, but I mean, it was whenever you get too far in the pack, I had to charge a little too hard and burn my right front a lot, trying to pass cars on the bottom. It's really tough to pass at Bristol with this temperature. It's not a one groove track, but pretty close to it. So trying to charge through the pack, I used my right front a little too much and ran out of right front there at the end. But it was a lot of fun, a lot of hard racing, and still a decent P3. I'm pretty happy with it.
Yeah, you looked like one of the contenders throughout the night tonight. How was the car, in your opinion? Because you look like one of the best drivers to be able to get around this circuit, whether you were in the mid-pack or whether you were at the front of the field.
Yeah, I was running a little lower groove than most of the guys, and that's why I could when I was probably like, let's say like 2/10 quicker than a guy, 10.5 to 2/10 quicker than a guy, I could pass him on the bottom. But I mean, cars that were pretty much the same speed as I had, it was pretty tough to pass on in the middle group, because the top was really good. But that's probably made that probably helped me a little bit, because I had a little different groove, a little lower groove than most of the guys. That's probably what helped me a little bit through the traffic tonight.
Indeed, and how much preparation did you put in for a race such as this? Because I was keeping up with some of the practice. You're one of the best drivers in some of the practices throughout the entire preparation for tonight. How much work was put in to make sure you had pace for this run tonight?
I'd say before today, I didn't practice a lot, but I put a lot of effort today for sure. Me and Ty, we were pretty much always in the same servers and trying to match speed. Being a raw speed, we were pretty good. I don't know what happened in qualifying. Track changed a lot, and we just couldn't nail a good lap. But we knew raw speed, we were really good. But on that long run, I think we were pretty decent. But there at the end, like I said, we just had to drive a little too hard and burn that right front. But now I'd say I probably put 300 to 400 laps today on Bristol, just to get ready for that race. Because I mean, with the competition we had tonight, we had to be on our toes for sure.
And the amount of laps you put in throughout the day today definitely showed today. Now, as many of ours, Evan and Tim had asked to the other drivers, where can many of the fans see you on social media, and where will we see you next racing, sir?
On pretty much all the platforms. I'm on Twitter, Labby36, same as Instagram, and I got my page, my Alex LeBay page on Facebook, my racing page. That's pretty much where I'm a little more up to date, I'd say. I put more info on Facebook, but I don't know. I don't know. I hope to be racing on a real track soon, but we hope we're going to be back next week for Richmond, for some kind of racing with iRacing and NASCAR. It's always a blast, and always it's always fun for us as drivers to be competitive and get back behind the wheel.
Definitely looked like some of you guys had fun tonight. Anyone real quick you want to thank before we let you go?
My spotter, John Schweikart, one of my buddies from Ohio. He helped me tonight, and he's always helping me on that iRacing deal. So thanks a lot to him. He was crew chief tonight, and we try to call a little different race than everyone else, trying to be on a different strategy, but it almost worked out. Still a pretty solid P3. Pretty happy.
Thank you very much for the time, Mr. LeBay. Congratulations on the top 3 finish tonight.
Thank you.
That was Alex LeBay coming home third tonight. Back over to you, Evan.
What a big thanks to all of our top 3 finishers for being available. Logan Seavey, of course, your race winner. Chase Cabray, who came home in second. And Alex LeBay, who finished in third position. You take another look top to bottom at your finishing results as we kind of put a bow tie on this one. Justin, I'll go back to you first. Great first time out with the Saturday Night Thunder Series. And I think this combination of the ARCA Menards styled cars and Bristol really made for a good show. And it was great to see a lot of different faces up in front representing all different kinds of NASCAR series.
Yeah, a lot of different leaders throughout the night, lots of different series, competitors up in the front from many different countries representing their various different series. But again, you have to give a shout out to the guy who won the race tonight, Logan CV. Ended up playing the cards right, had the fastest car at the end of the race. And many different drivers I definitely know are going to be happy about seeing Logan Seavey, especially with the dirt experience, coming away on top and winning on the pavement.
It's not just asphalt stuff that's been going on the iRacing service, Tim. A lot of dirt action as well. But again, this Saturday Night Thunder event, just a precursor as the big boys going to take right back here to the virtual Bristol Motor Speedway tomorrow afternoon for round 3 of the NASCAR iRacing Pro Invitational Series.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. It's been a busy week. World of Outlaws on Wednesday. This afternoon we had the IndyCar Series at Barber, and obviously with tonight and now tomorrow with the Pro Invitational iRacing Series on Fox. It's been a busy week. It's been some great racing. If you haven't already, hop on iRacing yourself and do some racing. I know I'm probably going to dig the wheel out tomorrow evening after we see the big boys do their job at Bristol. But congratulations to Logan Seavey and the rest of the field. Some great short track racing here tonight at Bristol. Can't wait to see what transpires tomorrow on Fox.
iWheel's hitting the desk as soon as we're done here, and it is 50% off all new memberships. So iRacing.com for more information on how you can join and get your sim racing career started. That's it for us, though, tonight from Bristol. On behalf of the entire team at RaceBot TV, as well as everybody at NASCAR and iRacing for putting this one on. For your broadcast team tonight, for downstairs, we got Hugo Luis on the call with Tim Terry, Justin Prince, and myself, Evan Pasoko. I want to thank you for tuning in and congratulate Logan Seavey as your race winner from the last Great Coliseum. You don't want to miss, though, tomorrow afternoon, round number 3 of the 2020 eNASCAR iRacing Pro Invitational Series on Fox FS1 and the Fox Sports app. Until next time, we bid you good night from Bristol. We'll catch you next time for the Saturday Night Thunder Series.